No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world, man. And we're back. Now, this is, listen, we've had a lot of people get, like, requested. But ever since we've kind of, like, took a deep dive, well, not deep dive, our toes in the water, right? With the Red Pill, Manosphere, political stream, they said we need Rollo here.
Yeah.
Like, they said, and all those other guys, they've been chatting and giving out free game, but their free game comes from the originator, which is Rollo.
I would like to think so. I would like to think so.
Now, hey, listen though. Let's get right into it, right? Because you're the godfather of the Red Pill, right? So you now has to answer for all their boys.
Yeah, well, it's like I got to clean up everybody's mess right now. And by the way, and like, cause a lot of people are gonna go, "What? Wasn't Kevin Samuels? He was the Godfather." I'm like, I was happy that people were calling him the Godfather when all that was going down, because I think a lot of people think that I like gave myself that name.
No.
And I didn't do that. I used to have a partner. His name was Pat Campbell.
Yeah.
He was a terrestrial radio show host.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I worked with him on his show from about like 2017, 2018, all the way up until he just passed away in 2021.
Wow,
He had brain cancer. But he was a mentor to me, and he used to introduce me as the Godfather of the Manosphere on his show. And so it just kind of stuck, and then everybody started calling me that. So.
Wait, so do the Manosphere encompass everything about the Red Pill, like, or like, is there like a divide?
A little of both. I think the Red Pill is more of I like to call it a praxeology, which is it's kind of a loose science. Is really what it is. It's not meant to be some kind of ideology or some sort of mission or some kind of movement or something. But whenever everybody says it's a philosophy or they say it's a ideology or a cult or a religion, I'm just like, you don't get it. But that's separate from, like, say, the Manosphere, because the Manosphere itself could be anything. It could be fitness. It could, like, you just had MLD in here not too long ago, so money, muscles, and game, right? So those are usually the three things that guys are in some way deficient in, or they sort of gross out in one of those things if they are deficient in those things. So if you look at the Manosphere in total, by the way, the Manosphere as a name was actually sort of thrown out there as sort of a derogatory name back in like 2012 by feminists, because they started seeing this sort of male self-improvement sphere coming up in social media, and so they gave it the name manosphere, right? So it wasn't like anybody came up with it. It was actually supposed to be like an insult back in the day, and so people just leaned into it, I think, back then. And so the Manosphere itself it could be anything. It could be fitness. It could be money. It could be game. It could be whatever. I mean, heck, I don't know if you have ever had like Sterling Cooper or any of those other guys, porn stars and stuff like that. They'll talk about like, like male sexual health and stuff like that. That could be part of it as well. And I think that a lot of people sort of misconstrue the Red Pill per se with like the Manosphere, because a lot of, especially now in an election cycle, people start calling, well, you're only Red Pill if you're this political ideology, or you're conservative, or you're whatever. It was never about that, but people make it about that because it's kind of a terminology that's sort of a useful brand for them.
And I found out too that the Manosphere and the Black Manosphere are two different things. Right? Rollo, be real though, Rollo, man. Now listen, I know that it can tend to fuck up a lot of right? So now there's been here. So like the Black Manosphere is what gets a lot of like the backlash, right? So are you ever like, why the fuck are those motherfuckers being grouped in the same category as us?
Well, okay, so I understand why it's popular in the Black sphere, right? In Black, it used to be Black Twitter, right? And Black Twitter came along, and then it was really Myron and Fresh on Fresh and Fit that sort of popularized it more, and then you see all these come ups. And by the way, I would also include Kevin Samuels in that as well. And then there's there's other people as well who are in the quote unquote Black Manosphere. And like I can remember the time when me and Fresh and Myron were talking. I'm like, it's kind of a damn shame, because it's like that it separates men in general rather than by putting them into like sort of racial divisions. Like there's a Black Manosphere, an Asian Manosphere, a Latino Manosphere, this man, a white Manosphere, whatever it is. I'm like, that's an attempt to separate guys. That's an attempt to like sort of pull people apart so that there's more like division within that. And quite honestly, I think we're all in it together right now. And that's why I've always said, like, I'll give you a story right here. I was with Fresh in his Lamborghini, his first one, because he's got so many damn cars,
bro,
right?
Bro, he's so rich.
I can remember being picked up by Fresh and Myron in January of 2021 when they just were starting to take off. They had 20,000 subs for Fresh and Fit. They picked me up in a rented Land Rover from like the Fort Lauderdale airport, right? And they were loving on me. They were so glad to have me there, and I was glad to be there too because I know Myron from before. He used to be on Rule Zero with me.
Oh, really?
And so. Then by August of 2021, now Fresh is driving around in his first McLaren. And I'm like, damn, that was quick. You know,
fast.
Yeah, so you're looking at like 8 months and he's in a McLaren after that. But there was a point where we're driving around in Miami, Brickell, in the like the art district and the fashion district that's out there in Miami, right? And we're in a powder blue EVO Lamborghini. It's the top's down, so we're in a convertible, right? I'm sitting there. He is as dark as I am white, right? And we're listening to some of his rap, and then we'd start listening to like Steel Panther or something like for me, right? And then I'm sitting there with his dog, Hero, which is a white Shiba Inu, and I'm like, we look like insane.
I know, right?
You know, driving around here, I'm like, but that's just it was a surreal experience. I'm like, why does there have to be a black manosphere or a white manosphere? It's like we're just part of all this, this collected whole.
If I was a white manosphere, I'll be pushing. Listen, bro, because all the and foolery and ghetto and like the clips that go viral with like the messiness and that come from the black manosphere, right?
Yeah.
Right. So like the black manosphere has got your canceled.
There's a lot that gets thrown back and forth, and it's like I think that the message gets lost, and it's not just the black manosphere; it's also the white manosphere. It's also there's a lot of new come ups. Like every 3 or 4 years, there's new come ups, and they don't have any experience with it, but they see that it's sort of like the new hotness, right? So it's whatever's going to sort of build their brand, and
absolutely.
And I think that probably you're going to see another wave or another cycle come up pretty soon after the elections. Because people are going to start moving out of the manosphere and moving into like culture war narratives and everything that's going to like sort of build a brand based on whatever the social narrative is going on at the time. And I don't think it's going to be the manosphere. Like after like say August or something for about 18 months, maybe halfway into 2025, that's when people might start returning back to the manosphere again.
Speak on that real quick, right? Because I've said that in terms of the state of the red pill, now in 2021 or even like during like the pandemic, right? The red pill was like this fiery fireball that was just rising and like gleaming, right? And then I think somewhere after the Sneako and Destiny like debate, there was this stench, this like black mark now, and on the manosphere, and now it seems as if like the collective have came together to say those guys are extremist weirdos, and now it kind of seems like the red pill has been on the decline, like due to, there's like content creators now who don't really understand it, but they are out here going on different shows and, and saying just outlandish and extreme shit. And now they're being like grouped in with guys like Rollo who actually understand the science, Well,
and then you got to remember, I've been like my first book was published in 2013.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 10 years for just the first book. Yeah. And then prior to that, I used to be part of a group called So Suave, which was an online forum. It was for guys. Basically, it was pickup artists in the seduction community back then. But that's what sort of like evolved into what we call the manosphere today. And it also evolved into the red pill. And there's you got to remember, there's also like MRAs, men's rights activist guys. There's the MGTOW guys, or men going their own way. Then there's the black pill doomer guys. Then there's the trad cons, which are coming out of the woodwork right now. And there's all these little kind of sub branches that kind of hived off from the main tree, I guess, that was the manosphere. And I was back in. I've been doing this since like 2002.
Facts.
So. The first book was really a collection of fleshed out essays that I put on my blog that became the chapters of the book itself. But all of the concepts and everything were developed by myself, but also from conversations that we were having back in like the early, 2002, 2003. And in some cases, the people who are coming at us right now, who's seeing, fuck those guys, the manosphere. These are guys who were watching Jimmy Neutron and Fairly Odd Parents when I was like starting to write about this stuff, and they have no background in this. They have no idea really what they're talking about. And 90% of the time when people are saying those red pill guys, I'm like, who? who are you talking about?
Yeah.
Who exactly are you talking? Who is saying? Where are you hearing this from?
Yeah.
And generally, they don't have anyone in particular that they can name, right?
Yeah.
And right now, what I see is there's sort of this turning away from like the manosphere stuff and the red pill, because you can't talk about and you can't pivot to sort of the culture war narrative and the decline and the degeneracy of society and save the West. You can't do that and still have your feet in the manosphere pool.
Yeah, of course.
So what they're trying to do is say, we never knew you, and they're looking for convenient exits so that they can pivot out of the manosphere, which was their bread and butter for the last like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Myron and Fresh, for instance, and nothing against these guys because they're not, but they've only been around since 2021.
Yeah,
January of 2021 is when they started.
Yeah.
And so really, you're looking at maybe coming up on 2 years, almost 2.5 years right now.
Yes.
And I've been doing this for 21 years right now. And so I've seen the cycles, and I remember like when the election cycle was going on in 2016, when Trump was coming up, people were calling themselves red pill because that was a convenient term, and they wanted to appeal to a younger voting demographic. So they would say, well, the Conservative Party and the Republicans, we're the red pill. And even like someone like Candace Owens, her Twitter handle back in the day was Red Pill Black.
Really?
She's just Candace on Daily Wire.
Wow.
But she used to be called that. And then, you had like Milo Yiannopoulos, who was actually a really good friend of mine up to a point until he got really famous. He used to write for Breitbart.
Yeah.
That was all part of the same manosphere at that time.
Oh, really?
And I can point out people like names right now who used to be part of the manosphere like 1.0 or 2.0, and now we're in 4.0, like manosphere 4.0. And so I've seen these cycles go, and I was saying this on my panel show, which is Rule Zero. We do an end of the year kind of predictions and like what we see coming down the pipes. And I said this on the last one. I said, by August of 2023, you won't recognize the manosphere anymore.
No,
because
absolutely.
they're going to be a pivot. And so all the people who were come-ups and they were riding the manosphere and intersectional dynamics, and they wanted to talk about, let's keep bitches accountable. And so you see these sort of like copycats, like, and some are better than others, but like you look at like Pearl, or you look at like whatever podcast, or you look at some of these there's other ones as well, but they're basically trying to create a successful brand based on what they think is a formula, which is really what Myron and Fresh did back in the day.
Absolutely.
And so, but you're still only talking about a time frame of like 2 years.
Yeah. Now, okay, so let's speak about that though, right? So I do want to circle back to the convenient exits, right?
Okay.
But let's speak about like the copycats.
Okay.
I think the first person that I heard you like speak about Pearl was when you say, listen, Pearl don't come off as if she, she's well learned or truly understand this, right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I tried to put out an olive branch to her at one point, and I kind of got burned for that. So, honestly, I think she's not a good representative of the red pill. I think a lot of people see her as sort of like, oh, she's sort of the female voice for the red pill. And so when I see her go head to head with somebody like Ethan Klein on H3H3, she does not know how to defend a point.
Yeah.
She knows how to parrot back the talking points she's heard other people say.
Yeah.
I have had conversations with her in the past, but I don't think that she is a good representative for talking about the topics that she's talking about, because once she gets into those situations, like it was H3H3 was just the most recent one.
That was bad, Rollo.
So if you go and you look at say when she was on the Vice panel not too long ago, and Sydney Watson was on there. Sydney Watson is in no way, and I know Sydney personally, right? Sydney Watson is in no way part of the red pill, but she was better able to defend red pill points than Pearl was during that. And I was just like, why are we giving any kind of legitimacy to this person right here when there's other people who are actually much more well versed in this? I think Myron is a very good.
Oh, he's very great.
So if I'm going to say, okay, this is a bad representative, I have to give you a good one too. So I would say Myron is a
very smart guy.
Very smart guy. I mean, again, a lot of this is just derivatives from my own work, but I'm happy that they're doing it because I see the red pill in my work as sort of like open source. Yeah. So I want people to take it and sort of make their own thing with it as well. Yeah. So for me, I think a lot of people think that I'm trying to get like my flowers or something, by mentioning or saying something like this. I am more interested in seeing what other people build with what I put out there than I am getting like trophies on a shelf or something like that, or getting accolades. I say this on my show all the time, is like, I'm more interested in seeing the new life that you built using this information and this education and these tools that I'm presenting to you than saying, here's 12 steps for life and follow these things and you have a perfect life. I would rather you use my material as sort of like a paintbrush and art tools and, you know, like a canvas and everything. You're the canvas, and what are you going to paint with the tools that I'm going to give you? It's up to you to go and do that. But I think that when we're looking at people going out sort of into the mainstream, there are people who are going to be good representatives of the red pill because they're about it, rather than just having it be sort of whatever their convenient brand is. If it's just hotness and this is what everybody is talking about right at this point, you can build a brand off of that until you don't know what you're talking about, or you're put to the test, or you have to defend a point and you can't do that. That's when, you know, things start fraying at the edges.
Yeah, man, because Pearl was a rising star at some point. And then I feel like the first, like, where it was more so like, oh, okay, this is going to be, you know, like a train wreck that's going to be really fun to watch burn, was when I think she debated Destiny. And Destiny was like talking fast, making, right? And she came off as a young, dumb kid, right? Now, I think Candace Owens had this thing called a Blackzit, where black folks was exiting from the Democratic Party, right? So you being the godfather, when you see this representative like Pearl who's saying some dumb shit like women should vote, right? Like, what responsibility like do like you have for saying, okay, like maybe we should separate ourselves from people like Pearl?
Okay, so I'm now seeing sort of this trend with people who want to say that they're like red pill, they're like red pill adjacent, right? They don't want to be actually associated
Tate
with
Brothers,
the red
right?
pill. Yeah, for instance, like I think it's interesting that like Andrew and Tristan were very, very deeply involved in sort of like, for more or less, you know, the stuff that I've written in the past, but putting it out there and make it broadcasting it in such a way that it was part of their own personal brand. And now it's like they want to disown all of that, and we don't want to be a part of that anymore. And so now it's about traditional values, and now it's about conservatism, and now suddenly they're family guys. And I can remember a time where I was like run up the flagpole because I've been married for, well, coming up on 27 years. I've got a kid who's 25 years old, and a lot of the people that I know are also married, or else they are in, you know, family or in situations, right, where they have that. And people were just shitting all over them. And now suddenly everybody wants to be a family man, and that's okay. And I'm like, well, I've been that way for going on 25, 27 years right now. Now I'm the asshole and you guys aren't the asshole. So when I see stuff like that, I kind of have to like bite my lip and just say, okay, it's just part of the game. It's just part of the branding. It's just part. We're going to make a pivot. So now we're going to be family men. Now we're going to be. Now we're going to say, well, we like the red pill, but we only like these certain parts of it. Yeah, we only like these. It's pick and pull red pill. We like this part and we like this part, but the rest of it we don't want to have anything to do with that. And because it's not on brand for their own personal brands, the brand of me. In my fifth book here, I talk about that quite a bit. Is like everybody right now is their own personal brand. Absolutely. So if you have you're a 10-year-old kid and you have an Instagram account, you're your own brand. I'm going to quote Robert Kiyosaki here for you. Robert Kiyosaki said, if you're not a brand, you're a commodity.
Facts.
And so right now, when people go on Instagram, even if they're just putting their pictures on there and their dog pictures and their family vacation, you're still presenting yourself in some way as a loose brand. Influencers are their own personal brands. Absolutely. And so what happens is when your personal brand is about a particular thing, it's about like conservative ideology, or maybe it's liberal ideology, or maybe it's the red pill, maybe it's anti-red pill, maybe it's something else, like the black pill doomers, whatever. If you pivot away from that, you're taking a big risk on rebranding yourself because you have your ego that is involved in that branding. So when people need to make a pivot out of what was very successful for them at one point, which is in this case the manosphere, and now they're seeing the writing on the wall, and they're saying, you know, that's probably not going to be a really cool thing to be, coming up in the next 18 months because we're going to go through this election cycle. And now the thing that's going to really build our brands is if we switch over to this culture war narrative, which I'm already seeing like on Tim Pool and I'm seeing on Crowder and some bigger like Daily Wire. And so all these guys who wanted to run these clips of say like whatever podcast or Myron and Fresh, now we never knew ye. We don't want to have anything to do with you guys anymore because we're going to be more about family values and everything else because that's what's going to play in the next 18 months.
Yeah, man. Listen, so let's speak about like, you know, like folks that I think are making like that pivot, right? Well, the Tate Brothers. Now, I didn't know like too much about the Tate Brothers before 2022, 2021, right? So when Tristan Tate like comes out and say, "Don't compare me to those red pill dorks," like, what's your reaction?
Again, it's just it's rebranding is really what it's about. Because I've done shows with Tristan. I've done several shows with Andrew. I've done more shows with Andrew than Tristan. The last time I was with the both of them together was on Fresh and Fit back in December of 2021. And my good friend Justin Waller is very tight with them as well.
I love bro. I love Jay Waller.
You need to get Justin in here,
please.
Well.
I love him.
But he, you know, he's very tight with them as well. I can text him right now. I got the number, but it's to me anyways. It's more of what is going to be on brand for the new version of these guys. What's going to be on brand for the next 18 months? What are people going to be about? I will give them this: they will keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on, in social media and what the cultural, societal, like in global societal narrative is going to be. And honestly, I kind of see that as sort of this. Again, it's pushing away from the parts that they didn't like and sort of keeping us pick and pull red pill. So when we say, well, we don't want to be affiliated with those guys, that's exactly what I've just been saying. It's like, when you look at, say, Andrew and Tristan, you know, I kind of expect that from them. I understand. I know who they are, and I like the guys quite a bit. But, you know, when you're looking at people who have sort of built their name like within the last 6 or 8 months, maybe even the last year, built on the manosphere, and now suddenly it's like, well, we're not really manosphere, we're not really red pill, we're just red pill adjacent. We'd like to have them on once in a while, kind of thing. But I think it's just sort of this gradual kind of sunsetting themselves out of the manosphere so that they can move into something else. Because, like I said before, getting into that culture war narrative doesn't play well with spin more plates, right? It doesn't play well with dating non-exclusively. It doesn't play well with open on my end and closed on her end, right? That, like, I would love to say, if I was to have, you know, Tristan and Andrew here, I would say, so do you still believe in the open on your end and closed on her end? Is that now still part of is that still on brand, or is that not on brand anymore?
Of course. Now, so like nobody in peculiar, right? But do you feel like, is it okay? So do we count this as grifting then? Like, for example, if you are in
a grifter, dude. Everyone's a grifter. Everyone. I'm gonna. Do you know Otep Jesus?
Yes, I love Otep Jesus.
I'm gonna quote Otep Jesus. Everyone. This is not me. This is not me. Otep Jesus says everyone you know is a grifter. Do you ever watch the Grifties? Like, he does like the Grifty Awards. Like at the end of the. I actually was the announcer for the first the Grifty of the Year award.
A word?
On his show. But he'll say this: it's like everyone you know is a grifter to some degree. Everyone is a grifter. It's what you give back. The true essence of a grifter, somebody who just takes and takes and takes. If you are a grifter and you give something back, like what are you giving back to the people that you are taking from? If there's actually some exchange of value, that's the difference between somebody who's like really about what they're talking about, other than this is the new hotness and this is what I'm just going to get into.
So, all right. So, who's an acceptable grifter to you, and who's an unacceptable grifter? An
acceptable grifter.
Yeah. And who's an unacceptable one?
I'm an acceptable grifter.
Hey,
everyone's a grifter. As I said before, everyone is. I mean, to some extent. Well, what did I just say? I said, you know, everyone who if you have an Instagram account, if you have OnlyFans, if you're grifting. If you're an influencer, you're grifting. If you are if you have online courses or something like that, a knowledge-based thing, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's a grift, it's a hustle, because what happens is people start to sort of it's what's called ego investment. They invest their egos into their brands because their brands are what they're about.
Of course.
What I've been noticing recently, and I wrote about this in the introduction to this book, is that when I see people who are all brand, that's when you've kind of crossed a point, you've kind of crossed a border, right? And so when your personality is actually your online persona all the time, that's when, like, I want to talk to the man, right? I would like, like, can we just have a conversation about fishing or your hobbies or some shit like that? Can we talk about normal shit? When I can't have that conversation with somebody, that's when grifting becomes like you become your grift, as opposed to like what is your honest to goodness personality versus the persona you created for yourself to sell whatever it is that you're selling.
Well, here, right? So like, I wouldn't count you as a grifter, and here's why, right?
Okay.
I think like a grifter means like you're going to get, like, for example, like you don't believe nothing you're saying. Right?
Right. It's hustle. I mean, I get the hustle part of it. But,
it's a play, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that even the term grifter, right? I mean, if you want to go and look at the Wikipedia entry or the dictionary terminology, that's one thing for sure. But everybody in some way is their own brand of me. You know, their brand is whatever they're proposing or they're putting out there. And that I run into problems with that too, because I'll put out some sort of inflammatory tweet and people think, oh, is that what you're really about? Is that what you're telling me to do? Everything, I don't know when this happened, but everybody lost their fucking sense of humor on Twitter, probably around like 2019 or 2020, somewhere around there.
Of course.
Because everybody takes everything so bloody literally. Yeah. And apparently the only reason anybody uses Twitter right now is for self-help. Right? So anytime you go on there, you follow somebody, you listen to them, you read them, or you watch their podcast, or you're listening to them on Instagram or whatever, they're in some way trying to tell you how to live your life. Fuck that.
And the facts, man.
And so I think we've sort of lost this, and I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if we've spent too much time online or too much time doing social media kind of stuff, or trying to be, influencers, low-level or high-level influencers, however it works. But I think that we have become our own brands. We believe our own bullshit. We create personas for ourselves that are online that may or may not be what we're really, really about, or maybe it is what you're really about. But it gets to the point where everything in your life, from your dog dying to the birth of your child to your divorce to your marriage to whatever it is, that's all content. And when your whole life when you're an influencer, everything can be content, and it's monetizable, and we can make T-shirts about it, and whatever the fuck else we want to do. And it's at some point we don't really realize like what's real and what's not real anymore. Are you really your persona, or did you cross some sort of line to get to becoming that person? And then the problem is like when you have clashes between two people who says, I disagree with what you believe in and what you're about here. You could say, hey, the sky is freaking blue and I think the sky is green or some shit like that. If my revenue and my persona is invested in the sky being green, you're not just attacking the sky being green, you're attacking me because my revenue comes from the sky being fucking green. So it's
personal when you do that, though, right?
Well, it is because it's one thing to be ego invested in our beliefs and our religion and our politics and what we believe about how like men and women should relate with one another. And if somebody says, hey, fuck you, you're a misogynist because of that, right? Well, now you're not just attacking that person's belief, you're attacking that person himself because he has a vested interest in what he's been promoting for a long time, because everybody thinks that anything that is influencing you is self-help. This is how you're telling me how I should live. No, I'm not. I'm just giving you. You can't give information to people now without telling them how to feel about that fucking information.
Well, okay. So now, who's an unacceptable grifter?
An unacceptable grifter? I think the unacceptable grifter is the one who is just doing it because it's. They're like a cover band. I don't know, maybe that's a better way to put it, right? It's like they don't have any originals. They just play covers of other people. So are you tracking with me here? Like there's people who will
parroters.
They just be they're not innovators, but they are very fast followers. So they're not ideas people.
Mass produced content.
I look at it this way, and this is something I was just writing about on my Substack is right now in the manosphere, and I shouldn't even say the manosphere because it's like across the board in other spheres as well, but you have the people who are the hustlers, the people who are selling some sort of program, they're selling some sort of class or something, like they're hustlers, and admire the hustle, or respect the hustle. Okay, got it. Then there's people who are the reactors, and these are the people who would die tomorrow if somebody wasn't, some ideas person wasn't saying something outrageous or outlandish or some shit was going on. So
I'm getting your grift.
So these are unacceptable grifters, right?
Yeah.
So you got the guys who are the reactors. These are the people who just see other people doing stuff, and they got to go, well, their content is reacting to other people doing, like, living their own fight, like actually doing something in their lives. But you can make a good living off of doing, like, what I call TikTok videos, where it's like, see some outrageous shit on TikTok, and I mean, it's this endless supply of content for you if you're a reactor, right?
Facts.
So then there's the reactors, then there's the holy rollers, then there's the trad cons, then there's like, oh my god, the pearl clutchers, right? They use sort of the manosphere in this sense, but in other senses, but they use it as sort of their personal ministry. Like, they're the finger waggers and the moralists who in a way they're reactors, but they're also doing it from a perspective of you're not living your life right, and Jesus said this, or Muhammad said that, or whatever your religion happens to be, and it's sort of standing in judgment of people, I guess, and that makes for good content. So when you look at those, so you got all these people, and then you've got the ideas guys, and the ideas guys are the ones who are out there putting new material out. They're the people who are writing books. They're the people who are the innovators. They're the people who are saying something new that if they weren't out there doing like research and development, that none of the other people would have anything to talk about if it wasn't for those guys going out there and saying, hey, look, I'm going to write an essay. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do a podcast based on this information over here. Let's have a discussion about it. What do you guys think about it? If not for those ideas guys, then nobody else would have anything else to say or do.
Well, then outside of you, then, like, who's also an idea guy?
I would say Myron Gaines is definitely an ideas guy. A guy I work with, Ryan Stone, is definitely an ideas guy. There's a few of them.
And he's the guy who was with you when you debated Sneako and Destiny?
No, that's Mike Sartain. Mike Sartain is my partner. And
he's amazing.
Mike Sartain is an ideas guy.
Listen.
Yes, absolutely.
I never knew who he was before that. That guy needs to be more popular, bro.
Well, Mike Sartain is my partner on. He's my co-host. I'm his co-host. I don't know how we do it. We're two hosts of Access Vegas, and we've been doing Access Vegas since October of last year. He's very amazing, and he's the Dark Lord of Las Vegas.
I know, right?
But what he does is he sources girls for events like Wet Republic, pool parties.
Yeah.
He judges bikini contests, Swimsuit USA, Paradise Challenge, all that kind of stuff. He's very networked, and he also has a group called Men of Action MOA, which is the only group that I actually endorse. It's a hands-on kind of group where guys come in and they get live, real-time sort of coaching, but also it's not just about game. It's also about like becoming the best version of yourself. But it's a bottom-up approach rather than a top. We're going to change the world, right? That it's not like that. It's like, how can you become the better version of yourself? And then it's like each one tell one kind of thing. So it's a bottom-up approach, and that's what really attracted me to it, because it's on the individual level rather than on this big global, let's go change legislation level kind of thing.
Yo, listen, like, he's so good, right? Because
he's very good. He is the only person I know that reads as much as I do.
Yeah, listen, and I was just about to say that, right? Because when the Destiny debate happened and on like Fresh and Fit, right? Everybody was like, "Oh man, like they're about to like jump Rolla and squash Rolla, right?" And then you brought the fucking like the Uno reverse wild card, and there's Mike Sartain. Listen, he's the only person that I've seen who had Destiny kind of like conceding like some points, right? It's like, yeah, that's true, but right? I'm like, yo. This guy is keeping up with Destiny, and he's winning some debates too. You feel me? Right? So like, how'd you even like find that wild card guy, bro? Because he's amazing.
Well, Mike. Okay, so right around July, about this time, about July of last year, my other partner, business partner. I hate to have to clarify that. What the fuck do you have to clarify? Partner, my business partner, Miguel Munoz. He's the host of Dollar Cost Crypto. There was a time I was actually considering maybe trying to do a large scale collab with Valuetainment, which is Patrick Bet David, Adam Sosnick, Jedediah Bila, and it just didn't. They wanted too much, right? They wanted me to move out there. It was basically something where they wanted a co-brand, and it just seemed really one sided to me. And I was just so me and Miguel were just talking in the car, coming back from this one meeting that we had, and I'm like, why don't we just do this in Vegas?
Yeah.
Why don't we just do this shit in Vegas? I lived in Reno. He lived in Vegas. I'm like, let's just go find a place and we'll just go do it ourselves, right? And so we started looking for people to, or, like places like this, like this, like a studio like this.
Yeah.
And in the process of doing that, Justin Waller introduced me to Mike Sartain. I went and did Mike Sartain's an interview with him on his show in Sticky Paws Studios in Las Vegas, and that became our headquarters, right? So we started doing Access Vegas there, and right after that, we it was like a meeting of the minds. It was like I have the same kind of feeling or the same kind of dynamic with Mike that I did with Pat Campbell. Pat Campbell was a mentor to me, and I don't look at him as a mentor, but like we have that same kind of back and forth that I used to have with, and I really miss with Pat. So, so it was right after that interview. He said, "Hey, you want to do a show?" I said, "Yeah, let's do a show." So, yeah. So we got girls in, and we, people say, "Oh, it's you guys are just like trying to do like Fresh and Fit." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're doing it in a different way. We're doing it with the hottest chicks we can find in Vegas because that's all he has. Is, that's why we called it Access Vegas because he has access to Las Vegas, right?" And so. We were bringing in all these girls that he knew, and we were having really good kind of high caliber discussions. They weren't just like these ratchet girls that were like, just whoever showed up. He already knew who they were. In some cases, we're dealing with a girl who's like Miss Nevada. Miss Nevada, women with master's degrees in psychology who are like they're still like OnlyFans chicks, but they're they're hot. They're still models. They're still going and hosting at Sapphire Club, right? But they also, like one girl's like a multimillionaire in real estate, but she's also hot as fuck. Then we have girls who are like genuine porn stars, but they can carry on a conversation. And people say, "Oh, well, you guys are so soft on them. You guys don't like, punch them in the face, get her, get her, get her."
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not the point of the show. The point is to actually have a conversation. If they want to castle themselves off the show, then that's on them. But our point is not to try to kick them off. And I think in some ways it makes for a better conversation, but in other ways, people want to see. They want to see Fresh and Fit. They want to see this girl get her comeuppance and like kick her off the show, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, so Fresh and Fit definitely like popularized that model, right?
For sure.
But right now, though, there's this narrative like going around that red pill dudes are not talking to educated women who are middle-aged, right? They're talking to these young girls.
Normal girls.
Yeah.
You're not talking to normal girls.
Yeah. No, right here, right? So, speak on that, though, man. Like, that, like, right? Like,
I've spoke to that so many times.
Man.
Okay, so number one is this was I kind of had to clarify this for, like, Jedediah Bila back in the day. There is this misconception that these girls that they get, these ratchet-ass 304s that come on the show, that they're just cherry-picking the dumbest girls, and they're trying to get them on the show to make them look dumb. That's the point of the show, is to make them look dumb. Well, Myron and Fresh, to their credit, they have such a fan base that they've got a few guys, I think now, who are keeping track of the ages of the girls, where they're from, what their socioeconomic, like what their levels of education are, where they're from. And if you look at, and I don't have it on hand right now, but Big Mo, their sound guy, I'm really tight with Big Mo. Every now and then he'll send me an update. Okay, now we have like over 3,000 girls have been on the show. They've been from this state and these states and this state, and some of them are from overseas. They've been this age. They've been gone. Half of them have like college degrees and stuff. So if you look at the demographic like skew of all the girls that they have on there, you in no way can say that they're cherry picking the dumbest girls on there to make them look stupid. I don't know how Brian or whatever does it, but I would venture to guess he's not specifically looking for dumb broads, right? And neither do we do that as well, because when we have girls on Access Vegas, they all have big tits and they have like Kardashian lips and they've got like, Brazilian butt lifts and stuff like that. Sure, there's going to be those girls, but every once in a while you're going to find those girls are also, they've got a master's degree. They've got they've got more money than 90% of our viewers do, and they earned it not from OnlyFans, but through real estate, right? They might have stripped to get to the point where they could start working in real estate. Yes. And so I'm not saying that they're going to cure cancer or anything like that. There's meeting of the minds, but these women are very educated and they can carry on that conversation. And I think it's really kind of unfair to say that I think was it the Washington Post or somebody, I forget which article it was, but they were talking about Brian from whatever podcast, saying that there's this rise of podcasts where they're just getting dumb broads on there so they can make fun of them. And we specifically did a full dedicated show to that article, and I said, have we made you feel stupid? Do you think we brought you in here to make you look like dumbasses? And none of them say that. They know that we're there on genuine, honest terms, and we want to have those conversations. In fact, we get run up the flagpole because we don't have those conversations, because we don't kick them in the face, because we don't have them on there to kick them off the show. So,
like, have you like talked to Brian recently, right? Because the last time,
I think you just texted me like 2 days ago,
right?
Actually,
look though, right? Because like when that like article came out, I think I seen him like call into somebody's podcast, man, and he just seemed like he was like super stressed and not really expecting all this, backlash, right? Right? Especially like I think that was during like the Endora clip, right? That like was going viral, or no?
Well, So they specifically wrote that article about whatever podcast. So they were referring to him and stuff. And to his credit, like he's in Santa Barbara, so I know he had to. I don't know if he still does this, but he had to source all of his girls from UCSB.
Oh, right?
At least in the beginning stages, right? And so now he'll have Destiny on there. Now he can get people to fly out there. And by the way, Santa Barbara is kind of a bitch to get into. I ain't lying. I have to go down to Vegas and then I have to fly into Santa Barbara if I'm going to do that. So getting people there, being that popular to make that kind of a draw, that's a testament to the success of what he's been doing up to this point. He's got something like 4 million subs, but you got to remember that 3.5 million of those were from his previous format, which was all about pranks and stuff. So, but even still, he's doing pretty well for himself with the new format. And when I went there, it was with myself, Mike Sartain, and Justin Waller. We were on there with the girls and everything. And I didn't get the impression that he was trying to school these girls or anything like that. I think in fact, I'm not really sure he realizes that he was going to be that successful. Now, what he started doing was he's sort of like the safe version of Fresh and Fit. So when PragerU, like what's her name, Amala from PragerU starts using their clips, or Valuetainment starts using their clips, or Daily Wire starts using their clips in preference to like using Myron and Fresh, because they're too volatile for the conservative audience that is Daily Wire. But then you get Michael Knowles, who's on whatever podcast, and that lifts them into sort of this neocon, traditional conservative. It's like what is it? Turning Point USA. Those kind of people who want to watch that kind of stuff. And so it's still manosphere enough, and it's still like red pill, loosely red pill, but also it's talking about intersexual dynamics. And now it's okay for a conservative audience to go, oh, look at these dumb bitches, and that's why you have Michael Knowles, who's there, who I would include in sort of like the men's ministry side of things, where he's like wagging fingers at people. Or then you got Lila Rose on there doing pretty much the same thing. It plays very well. But
who's the blonde girl? Like that, that real super blonde, like whitish hair. I don't know. She looks like an anime character.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Man, wait. So let's like speak about this though. Now, you and Hafeez, right?
Okay.
So listen though. So Hafeez tried to warn us about Pearl, and he pretty much ruined his career. Right? What the hell?
I haven't heard anything from Hafeez in a long time.
Huh?
I haven't heard from him in a long time. I haven't seen him doing much of anything.
Listen, because after the second Pearl like debate with Valuetainment, he could have like just disappeared, right? So one, like, do you feel like the red pill or the manosphere owe Hafeez an apology for how they treated him based on his like debates with Pearl? Because after that, he was forced to put out an apology for like going off on her, or like, right? Because he put out like a manosphere I'm sorry video, right?
I don't know. I don't think I even saw that one. But what I've seen of Hafeez is, first of all, he's afraid to say my name.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know. You would have to ask him that.
Hafeez, come on, man. You're supposed to say the name, man.
Well, like whenever Pearl brings my name up, he kind of chomps at the bit. I saw him actually on with Dr. Godsod, who was actually, I really like Dr. Godsod. But it was funny because it seemed like the interview that he was having with Godsad was all sort of directed to try to sort of like get Godsad to sort of disown the manosphere, and he's trying to say, well, there's this guy, I don't know what his name is, and he's got this book out, and he's like, I don't know if he's legit. Do you know who I'm talking about? And I know he was trying to get Godsad to say Rollo Tomassi, right? Yeah. Godsad looks at the camera and goes, you mean Andrew Tate? And I was like, oh my God. So, but I think that when you got guys like Hafeez, whose again their ideological sort of, I say biases, but their investments, their ego investments in their beliefs, once that conflicts with, say, the red pill, I've said this before with like very religious guys. One of the I have my fourth book was called Religion. I wrote specifically for that audience about this. But I think that one of the things that really pisses off sort of the religious set is that it took like pickup artists and it took red pill guys and Rollo Tomassi to point out what's going on in their churches. And they in some cases, I run into people who go, thank you for saying this. And then in other cases, I have people like get really pissed off because they want to say, well, my religion is the real red pill. And let me explain to you why. My God can beat up your God kind of thing. And I think it's really kind of goes back to, it kind of stinks to have somebody who's outside of the church pointing and saying, like, here's why there's no guys in your church right now. Here's why guys are like leaving the church to find the man. Where did they go? They went to the manosphere. So they see that and they want to find some way to sort of invest themselves or to sort of work their way into the manosphere to turn it into their own personal men's ministry. And I think that when you got a guy like Hafeez, who's very brand-oriented, another guy, and we're all grifters. He's definitely a grifter in this sense.
The grifter, right?
Well, maybe not good. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't believe what he thinks. I'm sure he
in
does.
In a good sense, though.
I'm sure he would pass a polygraph test if you asked him, does he believe this stuff? I have no doubt. But the problem is like what happens is the empirical evidence, the empirical truth, the studies and everything else. It really kind of rubs people like that, not just Hafeez, but like of that mindset, very much the wrong way.
Absolutely.
And so they have to sort of make it their personal crusade to sort of try to take down the manosphere or have those, like when you have Pearl, who's ostensibly a representative of the red pill, she's a soft target. He's not going to come at me because he knows I'll run the table with him, but he'll go after Pearl. And Pearl is not really good at defending red pill points. She's good at repeating stuff.
Absolutely.
She's a fast follower, but she's not an innovator, and she does not have the background in it necessary to defend those points. He knows that, so he can go and get a soft target. So I mean, if Hafeez ever wanted to do a debate, I'd be happy to. But I don't really even like to call it a debate. It's more of like a conversation, right? Nobody debates anything anymore. We just have this. Here's why I disagree with what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But when he's making his points, whether it's with Adam Sosnick or he's with Pearl or wherever he happens to be, I think it's more of like a catharsis for him. He wants to sort of like say that he did something to sort of push back against this. He just got married, I think 2 years ago, and I think a lot of times it's sort of like this attempt to sort of reaffirm the decisions that he's made for himself. And I'm not saying that they're bad decisions, because I've been married. I've been married for 27 years, or coming up on 27 years right now. I am the TradCon's dream when it comes to like whatever their representation of the red pill is, but I run into this paradox where it's like Rollo Tomassi can't be red pill because he's married, and then the trad comes, well, he can't be married because he's red pill, right? And I'm stuck in the middle. I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go do what I'm gonna do.
Even facts, man. Now, so why do you think like there's so much pushback against Hafeez, right? Because is it like just his like?
Is there pushback against him?
Listen, like his career right now.
I haven't really seen him do much of anything recently.
Yes, right. Yeah, right. Yes, right. And like whenever he like does something, the entire like comment section is, like he's long-winded. He like he talks to
he filibusters is what he does, especially when he does. Well, I think again, it's what I call confident ignorance. People want to say, oh, those red pill guys say this. I'm like, who? First of all, who are you talking about? And second of all, no, we don't say that. In fact, I can show you. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. I know you're full of shit. And I know that, and it's not that you're stupid.
Yeah.
He's not stupid.
No,
Destiny's not stupid. You know, a lot of the guys who come at me are not dumb. There's a difference between stupidity and ignorance, right? Stupidity means you just don't have the IQ, you don't have the mechanics to actually process the shit. Ignorance just means you don't know what you're talking about. And like there are things that I'm ignorant about. I'm very much ignorant about, like
what?
You know, well, maybe the technology stuff, maybe I don't know, you know, the weather. I don't know. You know, I'm not astrophysics. I'm ignorant about those things, but I'm not so full of myself that I'll go, well, let me see, I'm gonna be able to speak knowledgeably about everything. Yeah. Right? If I don't know something, even on my show, I'll say, look, I don't know that, but I'll find out, and then we'll talk about it next week. Yeah. I'm not above saying I don't know what I'm talking about. But then when you got people who are like confident in their ignorance, they like I can point out and say, like, they don't know what they're talking about. They would rather straw man points. They would rather straw man the red pill. They would rather straw man the manosphere, whatever else, and then move on to the next topic, because they get the yucks, they get the laughs, the laugh track goes off, and then they move on to the next topic. Because that's good content for what it is that they're doing. But it doesn't do anything to educate anyone. It doesn't do anything to equip them, and it doesn't do anything to give them the tools that they need to change their lives. They get a quick dopamine hit, and they laugh at it, and then they move on to the next topic. And that's never been what I've been about.
Yeah. And what was you and him like first running? Like
Hafeez, or
here, right? Like in terms of when did he like come on like in your radar to where now you're making videos, you know?
Oh, I saw him when he was on The Roommates, actually. You know, I'll tell you what's funny, that I actually was pretty impressed with him in the beginning. Really? Because he was on The Roommates, and I like what I remember seeing him on with Candace Owens, as a matter of fact. I forget. Is he still in The Roommates? Is he still with his partner, that guy who was his partner on The Roommates?
I only see like the light skinned dude interview like athletes now, like right, like So I don't see him there no more.
Is that even a thing? Is it just Hafeez now, or is it still The Roommates?
The last video that he made was the apology to the manosphere.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't even.
That was like 6 months ago.
You know, I'll tell you, if it doesn't show up in my impressions on YouTube, I probably didn't see it. But I remember seeing him and his partner on Fresh and Fit. And they were there for the after hours, and they would have, you know, they had some disagreements, of course, but it was always civil, and it was always, you know, I was always on point for whatever the topic happened to be.
Yeah, of course.
I saw him, he was on the after hours show at least twice, and I saw this, and I was like, he was actually holding these girls accountable. It's like Abba and Preach, when they went on Fresh and Fit for the first time, they were all about it. Everybody wanted to be part of that. Everybody wanted to be like to tell these girls what's what. You know, they wanted to hold women accountable. And then right around August of 2021, when all these allegations started coming out, and Albin Preach came at Myron and Fresh, then we saw what's happening kind of now in a smaller scale then, a larger scale now, is all these people who wanted to be a part of that, suddenly we don't want to be red pill. That wasn't really us.
Yeah, those guys hate women.
And so when you look at, like, say, Hafeez in, like, what was it, April or May of 2021, and then you look at Hafeez in April of 2022, that's a different dude.
Absolutely.
That's a completely different vibe going on there. And maybe it's because he got married. Maybe it's because his business model changed, because he wanted to have sort of this, you know, we're all going to dress up nice, and we're going to Black Manosphere, right? We want to be the best version of ourselves, kind of thing. And it was a pivot to a different kind of a narrative, I guess, for him. But prior to that, if you go and you look at the episodes where he's on the After Hour show with Fresh and Fit, it's a totally different guy, and he sounds like he's all about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Listen, I gotta check that out, man. Now, one of the biggest like disagreements is the marriage thing, right with Hafeez. Now, what's your take on it? So, should men be getting married in 2023?
Should they be getting married in 2023? I always get this because I have been married for. Let me full disclosure. I've been married for coming up on 27 years.
Different times though.
Different times. I was married in 1996. Okay? But I don't even think that that's really a fair assessment too. Okay. Simply because I've said this before. I'm not against marriage. I'm against the way that we do it now.
Okay.
So if you look at divorce rates, if you look at you look at the reason why women divorce men. If you look at how women like divorce men at what 75-80% of the time, they're the ones that are initiating. Now you can have a debate as to why they're doing that, but it's still that stat still stand. That's still what's going on. The numbers don't change. So I've been on record as saying that the way that we do marriage right now is an all downside risk for men today.
Absolutely.
And that's I'm going to quote my good friend Aaron Clary here. Yeah, Cappy. He has a book out now called The Menu, and in there he explains that we live in a post-marriage society right now. We just don't. We're still living in the 20th century. We still have 20th century ideals, but the reason why we talk about open on my end and closed on her end, or closed on our both our, like, I live in a relationship right now with my wife where it's closed on my end and it's closed on her end. I'm heterosexual, and that's the way we do it. I'm hoping it's going to make a comeback at some point, right? And then, but then you look at the Tates, right? It's open on their end and closed on all the girls that are their soft harem, basically, right? And then I've also explained this is that the most common way that we do it right now is open on that woman's end and closed on the guy's end. Because when a woman is in a relationship and she still has an Instagram, or she's still putting her her ass on OnlyFans or whatever, she's still advertising herself. She is still advertising availability, even though it's closed on his end. And if that guy were to go and hit on the waitress, he would be cheating. But if she goes and she's on Instagram and she's making there's no pictures of him, or it's a soft launch kind of thing, if she's still advertising herself in the sexual marketplace, then it is open on her end and closed on the guy's end. So I've been talking about that and writing about that more recently. But the reason why we have this overwhelming conversation about marriage right now is because we're talking about like poly, we're talking about thruples, we're talking about all these different ways, of these creative new ways where we think we can sort of have a relationship, where we have an open relationship. We look at Destiny and Melina, for example. Again, no judgment on that, but they're doing that because they're trying to figure out some way of doing marriage where they both get to fuck other people, right? Or if you're going to go look at the open on his end and closed on her end, well, then that's the Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, whatever that model happens to be. That's trying to figure out what we're going to do with marriage. My model for marriage is the old school, which is closed on my end and closed on her end, right? And so we're in the 21st century, and we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do marriage in the 21st century, but we still have these old order 20th century ideals for marriage. And in between all of that, you've got the divorce industry, you've got the marriage industry, you've got attorneys that want to get their cut of everything, and you've got what's called the divorce machine that goes along with it. It's not about losing half your stuff, because you also have to remember that when you get into those situations, it's not just about a financial hit that you're taking. It's also family. It's also emotion. It's also who gets the dog. Where's the kid going to go to school? Oh, mommy gets custody of the kids, so daddy has to move from place to place, quit his job and move somewhere else. We don't really consider. Too many stupid guys will say, "Oh, I don't want to lose half my stuff." That's just the tip of the fucking iceberg, man. There's so many other decisions and so many other things that happen as fallout from that.
Absolutely.
And so you see more and more people not even talking about or not even considering marriage. We live in an age where we live in the lowest marriage rate in the United States, anyways, in recorded history. It's 5.1 per 1,000 right now. That's a bigger question than, well, you're better off or you should get married, blah, blah, blah. I want to know why people aren't getting married. Why do they not want to do that? Is it because guys are like boycotting marriage, or is it there's no incentive for them to do it in the first place?
Or if they say, listen, man, I'm not getting married because I listened to Rollo and Tate Fresh and Fit. Like, would you say?
I sincerely doubt. Here's the thing: is like most guys who come to me and they want to talk about marriage, they don't ask me should I or should I not get married. It's already in their head one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when I did that infamous tweet not too long ago, when people
we'll talk about that too.
Get a vasectomy. Like, okay, I'm being over the top with all of that. But when I'm saying don't get married, don't be family oriented, get a vasectomy at 20, be on your fitness. Nobody talks about any of the other issues. They only fixated on the vasectomy thing because that was their easy out of the manosphere. But when I'm saying, don't get married, or if you want the quickest path to becoming a high value guy is to do these things, again, that's what the point I was trying to make, maybe not as well as I could have, is that what are you willing to sacrifice to be a high value dude? Are you willing to sacrifice family? Are you willing to sacrifice marriage? Are you willing to sacrifice, like, what on that list are you willing to give up so that you can be a high value guy? Well, to be a high value guy means that I would have all those things. No, it doesn't actually. To get to the point where you could actually make that choice would mean you would have to have some sort of sacrifice to get to that point. And again, we're still trying to figure out, how are we going to do marriage in the 21st century?
Yeah. Here, so before we circle back on, on the consequences of marriage, right? I feel like we have to define hypergamy first, right? So can you just define what hypergamy is for?
Okay, hypergamy boils down to this: alpha fucks and beta bucks. That's really what what it boils down to. But that's hypergamy in my definition. Okay, so the classic definition is this: it was the term was coined by a sociologist who was studying the caste system in India, like the lower, like it was 4 or 5, whatever the tier caste is, and he was observing the tendency of women to want to marry from a lower class into a higher class, and therefore he would call that hypergamy, right? Marrying up. That's the classic definition for it. Now, since I don't know, about 2002. When with the rise of like the manosphere and everything, when we're looking at women's dualistic nature or innate dualistic sexual preferences that influences their mating strategies. But now I have to clarify that for everyone. But the basis of that is based on hypergamy. So what that means is this: is if you've got a woman who's a 6 and a guy who's a 6, a woman is always looking for the guy who's a 7 or an 8 or 9 or 10, right? Whatever it is. Okay, whether or not she can get that is immaterial. It's the idea that this is, in fact, now it's like, I deserve the 7, I deserve the 8, I deserve the 9. Well, if the guy is a 6 and she's a 6, no woman wants to make a lateral move, right? So that guy who he's a 6, it's not that she won't get with him. He just has to bring more. He has to have value added. He has to have something else to bring to the table. He's got to be funny. He's got to love his mom. He's got to be the same religion. He's got to want kids. He's like puppy dogs, likes rainbows, and wants to go to fucking Disneyland, right? He's got to have something that gives him a little bit of an advantage, because she thinks she deserves somebody that's better than that, right? And so it's this tiered, it's like a hierarchy, right? So if the woman is, and again, this is like what constitutes a 6 is really, it's really up in a woman's head, really. But so it's this want, like hypergamy never seeks its own level. It's always seeking higher than its level. And if the guy happens to be at the same, like men don't have an attraction floor. Women have an attraction floor. They don't want to get with a 5 if she's a 6, right? If she says, I'm better than that, he's out of my league, right? That means he's a 5 and she thinks she's a 6. Again, this is all based on perception. It's all relative. It's all subjective to the girl and her own self-perceptions, right? So you might have a girl who's like a hot piece of ass, but if she has low self-esteem, she might think that she's a 6, right? So again, there's a lot of variance that goes into all of this. So that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of like hypergamy. It's like, it's not just marrying up, it's what do I deserve that's better. And there's two factors that are involved in that. There's the long-term relationship factor, which is the beta buck side of things. Again, we just use these as sort of colloquialisms, but it's protection, provisioning, and parental investment. That's really what constitutes the beta buck side of things. And so you say, well, betas are simps, betas this. Well, it could be, but there's the long-term security side of women's mating strategy that they focus on for a guy that she's attracted to, the guy she wants to marry, the guy she wants to have babies with, the guy who's stable and loyal and has a good job and all that other stuff. And then there's the hot guy in the foam cannon party on Cancun in spring break that, she was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another, right? That's the alpha fuck side of things. That's the short-term sexual side of things. He's hot, I want to fuck this guy, basically. The problem we're seeing right now is there's too many people who think that there's only one aspect to this, and it's always the beta buck side, because anything else is unflattering about women's nature. So I always turned it in these, when I used to work in the alcohol industry, I would have girls who were my poor girls, and I would have these conversations with them. And one girl was asking the other, said, would you ever sleep with the guy that you just met on that night? And the girls kind of giggle, and they go, well, I have, yes, of course I would, but only if he wasn't boyfriend material.
Oh, wow.
And I remember thinking, well, so you're going to break rules for the alpha, but you'll make rules for the beta, and that's a maxim in my books, right? Yeah. Women will break rules for the guy who's a good opportunity, a good hot fuck, and he's ready. He met him at the club, and it's like it's now or never kind of thing. They will break rules for the alpha male, and they will make more rules for the beta. So the guy who has like the 6 has to qualify to the other 6 by saying, I've got a good job, I've got a hot car, I love my mom, I like dogs, I like, whatever else is that value added. And she has to test that guy by saying, you've got to jump through these hoops to qualify for me, even though you're a 6 and I'm a 6.
Yeah.
And you got to better do the right thing, mister. You better have a job. You better have gone to school. You better have a good education. You better make what I make and then half again. You got to be economically attractive as well. That's all on that security, long-term security side. So you've got the hierarchy of wanting to get with a better than deserved, or it doesn't seek its own level. But you've also got alpha fucks and beta buck side of it. So there's the short-term sexual, and then there's the long-term security side. Yes. Women would very much love to have the guy who's the complete package. You'll hear women say that. I want the guy who is the total package. But those two guys rarely are in the same body.
No,
or at the same time.
Yeah.
And we're getting to the point right now, because of the global sexual marketplace and because of social media, where women don't even believe that's possible to find that guy who's the best of both. He's the total package. He's the best of both worlds. And also has social proof, has pre-selected, he's the people say, Rollo, what's a high value man? Here's your high value man.
Yeah.
Oh, here's your high value man.
Yeah.
He's the guy that other men want to be and other women want to fuck. Oh, that's a high value man.
Yeah.
Anything else from there is all contextual. So if you're a high value man in Miami and Brickell, that's different from being a high value man in a fishing village on the coast of Chile somewhere. Okay,
no
but the same principles apply.
Absolutely.
So the social context changes. But are you the guy that other men want to be, other men look up to, and other women want to fuck? Because if you're the guy that other men want to be, and other women want to fuck, then that's what makes a woman admire a man and respect that man.
A Chad, pretty much.
Yeah, more. Well, you could say Chad, but I mean it, because you're not going to say the guy in the fishing village in the coast of Chile is not a Chad in Brickell.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Wait, here a question, right? So, all right. So speaking about hypergamy, right? Now, as humans, right, like we evolve, right, for survival, right?
Survival and reproduction.
Yeah, right. Like for example, man, right? There's pecking wood birds, right? Who have evolved, right? Like where they will peck out the semen from. Well, no, sorry. Okay, look. Right. So look.
Slow down.
Yeah. Right. Look. Right. So look.
I'm gonna let you do it.
Yeah. Look. Right. So look. Right. So look. There are certain birds, right, who if they know that their mates, right, just had sex with another guy, right?
Cuckoos.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's
right.
actually where I forget the name of the bird, but that's the derivative of the word. Cuckold is actually from the bird.
Yeah, right. I think it's called the sperm something theory, right? Where they would have a higher orgasm, or they would pack out the right. Now, if men know that we are losing half of our shit due to hypergamous women who don't have as much as us, then why haven't we evolved yet to where we become hypergamous ourselves and date up?
Well, okay, so the reason for that is because men and women have different mating strategies. We have certainly different mating preferences, but also different mating strategies. So the difference between, say, a mating preference is women would love to get with the hot guy in the foam cannon party, but they also want to get with it's like cads versus dads.
Yeah.
Like the guy you want to marry versus the guy you want to fuck, right? Yeah. And it'd be great if you could find the two of them in the same guy. But the problem with that is that if that woman can't find that guy at the right time, it's better to have had sex and have reproduced with the guy who's the high value, the genetic guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then get all of the long-term security benefits from another guy.
Yeah.
So what evolves from that is what's called cuckoldry, right? It's like we're gonna there's two. This is in my book too. Okay, so it's in the animal kingdom, in humans as well. It's an adaptive reproductive strategy, let's just say, to get the best genetic material from one man and then also get the best long-term security benefits from another man. There's two ways to go about that. You can do it retroactively, you can do it proactively. So if you've got a single mommy who's already had 3 kids with 2 different dads, and she wants you to not be the stepdad, but the dad who stepped up. Like it's your duty to be
That's
a good.
Game ever.
We need you to. I need a man with benefits, right? I got to have a guy who can help me support these children, right? There is, especially on a social level, that guy is a noble man for helping you out. He's a good Christian guy for marrying a single mommy who has 2 baby daddies, kind of thing, right? So that's the proactive way, or I should say the retroactive way of cuckoldry. You're basically taking care of the offspring of another guy, which is pretty much what you do in the other format, which is in the proactive way, meaning she's already married to the beta male, already married to the guy who's the good dad, but she doesn't want to have his babies. So she cheats on him, has sex outside the marriage, and says, I'm pregnant, it's your kids, right? That's the proactive way of cuckoldry versus the retroactive way, which is the single mommy scenario, right? So there's 2 different ways to go about doing that. So like people have hit me up and said, hey, well, what about guys who adopt? Well, okay, at least you know and you had some sort of choice in the adoption rather than having it forced upon you because you're marrying a single mother or because she's cheated on you and telling you the baby's your baby, right? So that's the two kind of scenarios, but both of those scenarios are adaptive mating strategies or adaptive reproductive strategies. So again, it's one of the more unflattering truths about how women sort of facilitate their reproductive strategies. And I'm not saying all women do it. I'm just saying any woman can do it.
Absolutely.
So, and then you'll get people who say, well, it's so rare. It's only like 10% actually are being cuckolded. And usually when they're talking about like, oh, the baby's actually not your baby kind of thing, they're talking about the proactive version of cuckoldry. They're not talking about the retroactive because the retroactive way of doing it is acceptable. It's socially acceptable to. In fact, you're a better dude. You're praised for it, right? For marrying a single mom and lifting her up and like absolving her of all of her responsibilities and actually being noble enough to take the parental investment responsibility of another man on yourself. And by the way, that is also an adaptive mating strategy for beta males. I can't get laid any other way. I might as well try to lift this other girl out of poverty and take care of her babies that her baby daddies don't want to have anything to do with. But maybe in doing so, she'll have my babies as doing for doing that.
We can't save these hoes, man.
Can't save these hoes. They're all for the streets.
Right. So look, like speaking about genetics, right? Now there's this new thing that's going to be like a thing in, I think like a decade or 2, right? Whereas like you could actually like genetically engineer your kid, right? Where like you go there, you feel me? Say, hey, listen, man, mom has blue eyes.
Designer babies.
Right? Mom has blue eyes. I have brown eyes. Please give them, you feel me? Right? Now, I'm not even sure if they can alter height yet, right? Or probably not, right?
I don't know.
Right.
They probably could. I mean, it's a genetic. I don't see why they couldn't.
Right. So, how ethical and is that though, to genetically engineer kids?
Oh, I got a better dilemma for you.
Oh, okay.
There's a really great documentary on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on, but it was right before the C-19 pandemic. Right? But it was called Unnatural Selection, and it's about exactly what you were talking about, right? And they were genetically manipulating like mosquitoes because mosquitoes were like carrying malaria and dengue fever and stuff, and they were trying to figure out how they were going to like sort of like sterilize the mosquitoes. And then they had like a rat problem in New Zealand or whatever. Like how can we compensate? How can we make human suffering less because we're going to get rid of the vermin kind of thing. And so they went through, they just agonized over like, oh, is it ethical to kill off the rats in this particular island, right? Or is it the mosquitoes and stuff? And the reason why is because it boils down to one question. Should we have designer babies? Should we have like, what's more desirable? Like we can make like super soldiers right now if we wanted to. We can make like guys who just have like who are mesomorphs, right? We can just get guys who are like naturally yoked.
Like him right there.
Like that dude.
I mean, the guy right there.
We can design a human right now, and we made it like we tried to outlaw it, but then of course like the Chinese went and did it themselves, right? But the toothpaste is out of the tube, right? The genie's out of the bottle, right? So what? It's funny you should point this out because I actually talked about this in my 4th book in religion, where I was talking about the way, like our ideologies today, the things that we think about today are going to affect how we actually live in the future as a result of this. So what I pointed out, and not in this book, but in in religion, in my 4th book, I pointed out this. I said, what if we can in some way determine a combination of genes that would make a person homosexual? Should we alter that so that they would be heterosexual?
Yeah, of course, right?
Is it? Is it ethical to
of course,
do?
Right?
Well, what about what if we could say it's one thing to say that, right? But what if we say, okay, we have isolated the gene that causes Down syndrome. Should we eliminate that so there's no more Down syndrome kids anymore?
Here, right? Because look, because homosexuality, right? That's a direct danger to right?
Is it a genetic flaw?
But to us,
is it a flaw?
Yeah, right? Look.
See, some people will say that, how dare you?
Here's why,
dare
right?
you say something like that?
With the right?
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm normal.
Yeah. Nah, right?
I'm gay as fuck, man. I'm normal.
Yeah, right? Wait, though, right? Because listen, because for me, it's like any type of...
This is June, man. This is Pride Month.
Yeah, right? Oh, shit. Yo, it's Pride Month too. Oh, damn. Hey, listen. I disavow my own statements. But, wait, right? But, though, listen. Any type of trait, right, that does nothing but hinder back society. Like, for example, bro, if we were all gay, then we will be, like, dead in, like, 10 years, right?
Well, yeah, reproductively speaking.
Yeah, right?
I mean, it's a dead end. It's a genetic dead end, right? I mean...
Yeah, right.
So taken to its logical extreme, yes.
Right. So, it's almost impossible to figure out, like to inquire or to like think that right there is natural or supposed to be if that was a normal thing, we would be dead as right.
Right. Okay. Well, what if I can say so I'm white, right? I'm melanin deprived.
Yeah.
Whatever. Nice. What if I can make a baby that is a nice like mocha colored and I'm white as fuck?
Absolutely.
Is that okay? But like, can we eliminate homosexuals because we have the ability to now genetically engineer only heterosexual people?
Listen.
Or here's a better one. I wear glasses, right, for my eyes.
Of course.
So that's an invention that we have, so I can fix my eyes, right? Well, is it unethical for me to have but they did this, by the way, in that documentary, right? Gene therapy, so that my eyes actually have perfect 20/20 vision as a result of me correcting the genes that are in my eyes. So macular degeneration being a genetic thing, like they can change it. Let's just say theoretically they can change it. I don't know if the technology is actually there yet, but let's just say they can do that. What's more ethical, me changing my eyes on the cellular level or me putting glasses on?
Definitely changing like your eyes, right? Why? Because not being able to see, that's a defect that holds back society, right? So if we can change these defects and create like this new super society, then why not?
So we're all super. So we're like we're all super people, right? Yeah.
Listen.
And then when everyone's super, no one.
Listen though, right? Look though. Listen though, like I'm not against again, right? Like I'm from like a third world country, right? So like I have more, right? So like I have more like extreme values, right? Now look, if we say this, right? If we could currently like predict, like that person is gonna have low ambition and they'll be more susceptible to crime. Should we not
do that?
Not kill them off like at the seed?
It's a Clockwork Orange is what it is. It's Clockwork. The movie Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
So should we?
What's your answer to that?
Or no, it's Gattaca. Like, should we genetically? Yeah, Gattaca. Should we genetically engineer people so that they won't commit crime?
Yeah.
Can we in some way genetically remove freedom of choice from those people? Too?
Yeah. Right.
Right. But long story. I mean, we could go on and on about these dilemmas. But but the thing is like when I asked you about like should we eliminate Down syndrome? A lot of people say, well, yeah, man, fuck, why wouldn't you? Poor kids, you have a shorter lifespan. You go through life. It's tough, right?
Yeah, sure.
So would it be better to alter that so that we would never have another Down syndrome kid? Some people who have Down syndrome children said they wouldn't trade the experience for the world, right? Well, so because it's just part of their lives and they love their kids as much as anything else.
Wait, hold on, light them up, bro. Right, wait, pause. So they would choose having a Down syndrome kid opposed to not a Down syndrome kid?
Well, once they've gone through the experience of raising that Down syndrome kid, like the challenges, I'm not saying that they're not there, but like when I've presented that question to other people, they'll say, well, that's kind of an ethical dilemma because people who have Down syndrome kids, it's not they don't want to say that they don't love their kids, right?
They have a caretaker kink.
Yeah, well, maybe,
right?
maybe
right?
So.
It has to be, right? Because why would you choose Hypergamy?
Long story short, though, is that going into the future, we have to see what we just had this conversation we just had right now. It's an ideological like what is ethical and what is not ethical to be changing about a human being, like. Are we cheating if we can change our eye color? Are we cheating if we can change our skin color? Like I can go to the tanning salon and get a nice mahogany tan, right? Am I cheating by doing that? Bleaching, right?
I don't white privilege. Huh?
Am I see, why do we think that we're cheating, right? Or if a guy is like I'm on TRT, right? So if am I cheating because I'm on TRT? Because a normal guy my age would not have the same testosterone levels. So is it unethical for me to take TRT, right? It just depends on what your outlook is. But what I'm saying is that going into the future, we're going to have conveniences. Maybe we'll even be able to have birthing pods, right? Or we won't need men or women to reproduce. We'll just like say, you want a baby? Okay, we'll just go whip it up in a petri dish, and then there, you have a child. And it looks exactly the way you want it to look, and it behaves the way that you want it to behave, and it loves you because you have manipulated genetics. And by the way, people don't understand this. Like personality traits are genetic as well.
Oh, really?
There's a genetic element to that. There's a great, I think it was Steve Stewart Williams is the evolutionary psychologist that I learned this from, but it's the 4 laws of behavioral genetics. Genetic behaviorism is what it is, and it basically goes down and shows you like the the science that goes into this, where it's not just one gene that makes you like an extrovert or something like that. It might be a combination of a lot of little genes. If you can find a way to sort of manipulate those things and turn you into a more outgoing person, should we do that?
Yeah, of course.
Is that something we ought to do, or do we still need introverts in our society to innovate and to create, like Steve Jobs or somebody, to create new computers? Do we still want those people? What percentage in the population do we want? We have to answer those questions with the ideology that we have now for people who are going to exist in the future right now. And so like the super soldier or the guy that we said, you know what, we wanted you to have blue eyes. And he's like, fuck, everyone has blue eyes. I wish I had brown eyes. Yeah. But we made the decision back in 2023 that everybody should have blue eyes.
Of course, yeah.
It's like it's eugenics is what it is.
Now here, right? So walk me through this, right? So now there are certain like character traits, right? And some people are just born wired to fit into society, right? Now,
depends on the society, but
yeah, right. Now,
society is downstream from biology. So,
yeah, of course.
Like the people who are like, it's like chicken or the egg, right? What creates? Did society create that person or that person? Those people. Since we have a prevalence of this type of person, is that reflected in the culture that we're talking about?
Or right? Like, what comes first, morals or ethics?
I think they're kind of like morality. I tend to look at more as from a sort of religious perspective, whereas ethics is just sort of like it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, of course.
Like ethics could be like your business ethics. It has nothing to do with religion. It's just like this is how we do business, and if you don't do this, then people are going to say, you're gonna get fucked if you go and work with this guy because he has no business integrity or no ethics. That doesn't have anything to do with his religion. You could make it about that if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Morality, on the other hand, is like God wants you to do this, or this is the right thing to do because we have this holy book that told us to do this thing. So I look at kind of like a separation between ethics and morality. Ethics is more like secular, whereas morality I look is more like religious.
Yeah, here, right. So somebody said there's like a Lickman test of how you know that this kid is gonna grow up and fit into society, right? They said go to a 5-year-old, right, and ask them why is murder wrong, and if they can't give you an articulate answer as to why murder is wrong, just
yeah, or like the kid that kicks the dogs, kills birds and shit. Yeah,
kick them out. Oh, right. Will we ever get to that point where like we now like start like predicting who like the renegades are gonna be and just kick them out?
What was that movie with Tom Cruise in it where they're like trying to predict the crime before it happened? Minority Report. Yeah, where they can like potentially like just through an algorithm predict a crime kind of thing. Yeah.
If you think about the crime, you're going.
If you think about it, you're going to jail.
Listen, I'm not for that. Yes. Right? Yeah. Listen, because I'm sure that we brainstorm and think about a bunch of bad things, right? Yeah. Right.
Should we genetically manipulate human beings so that they are productive members of society?
Yeah, definitely, man. Now, here, right? Listen, though, and I we'll take it further though, right? And let's say in 50 years, right? If let's say this, right, like they build, let's say, they can like preset intelligence, height, right, and build, right, and then you come out with all the physical gifts of a 400 IQ, can lift like a bull, right, and you choose to be a fat piece of shit like myself. You choose to be lazy. Oh, we have to get you out of here through death.
Like I think a lot of people they don't understand. Like it's the idea of like nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
That people don't know this, but that debate has been settled quite some time ago. But it's not that. Well, it's not that. It's not well because of the 4 laws of genetic behaviorism. Okay, so we can actually key those particular traits that you're talking about to genetics and because we've plotted the human genome. It's not that we understand the entire structure of the brain right now, but we've got a pretty good idea of how to like genetically manipulate people so that they can have certain personality traits, or they're more prone to anger, they're more prone to crying, they're more prone to if you look at the neurological fMRI scans of men and women's brains, you can see that the synapses for women is much different than it is for men.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't really understand that men and women are different down to the cellular level, and we're much more different than we are alike. We're still part of the same species, don't get me wrong, but we're still our brains are wired differently. And what that means is we have different propensities and different proclivities, I should say, for how we're going to respond to something, say emotionally, how we're going to respond to something like fight or flight, how are we going to respond to things, or what we're going to do as a man is going to be a different behavior that's a sort of an innate proclivity that a woman would have that a man would not have, because we still believe in what's called a blank slate. We'll still think that, we're all equal, we all do the same thing. It's just like, we're just used to have a dick and I have a pussy. That's not how. Not at all. Yeah. So. And I think that's going to be a really tough hurdle for a lot of people to get over. But when we're talking about personality traits, just even in the gender, the sexual differences between men's brains and women's brains, their biology and our biology, their hormone, their endocrinology and ours, you can look at that and you can see that the different character traits, like say the big 5 character traits, agreeableness, I forget the other 5, but the personality traits, right?
Yeah.
You can map those onto genetic algorithms, right? So can we change those? So you've got somebody, and is it right? Should we do this? Should we say, well, men are more prone to anger, Men are more because our emotional response is usually not, oh, I'm gonna cry. It's usually like, I'm gonna go fuck this guy up, right? Because that's what served us as a species back in the day. Like when you get hungry, have you ever been hangry?
Yeah,
like you're so fucking hungry, you get pissed off at your friend.
Man.
There's a reason for that because it used to be like you had to get pissed off so you could run down a caribou or whatever the fuck it was, so that you could go eat. You had to get pissed off enough to go, fuck it, I'm gonna go get that goddamn caribou, right? And that was a benefit. So it was an adaptation your hunger creating sort of that frustration with you so that you'll go out and motivate you to go out and go and kill some food, right?
Yeah, we should leave those alone.
So should we remove that from human beings? Should we remove that? Should we remove that from men? Should we remove the propensity for men to like resort to anger because that's pro-social? Yeah, that would be, you would fit better into society if you just did, sit down, shut up, and did what you're told. Right? You'd be more agreeable. You'd be more accommodating. Should we design human beings to be the perfect slave, to be the perfect member of society?
Wait, can we like design? Okay, so can you be agreeable and still have like super, like for example, right? Because here's where
beta with a side of alpha,
right, Look though, right. So like here's where I think that we should like cap off, right? Is certain humans just have a certain level of ambition that's unhealthy, right? Like for example, right?
All depends on what the context of you thinking what is healthy and what is not.
Look here. Look here.
Arnold Schwarzenegger would say that, like, what was it? He was saying something like, "What you call an obsession, I call a passion." Right? Yeah. So he's yoked and probably everybody's what he's all yoked to the gills, right? But when people say, well, he famously said, like, people said, we wouldn't want to look like you. And he was like, don't worry, you never will. And it's because of what you're talking about, right? It's because of this. So is Arnold Schwarzenegger, does he have an unhealthy level of ambition, even though he's like Mr. O, God knows how many times he was the governor of California and he's like an actor? Is he normal?
No, listen, right? I'm talking about, like, for example, right? Like 1,000 years ago, like we had conquerors, right? Like Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, right?
Very prolific, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Now 1,000 years later, like we have Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, right? We're like those guys are like the new conquerors, right? But I don't think though, like, you can have that appetite for power without having some evil to you.
So okay. So you're gonna make. So whenever you use the term evil or good, you're making a judgment call at that point.
Yeah, of course.
So whatever their ambition is, for example. So if you look at a guy who, let's just say like Steve Jobs, for example, is he evil or is he good, right? You could say, well, he was definitely I don't say he was on the spectrum, but he was certainly a pathological personality. Like people, if you've ever read his biography, people would say he has a reality distortion bubble around him. Like he knows what he wants, he doesn't know how it gets done, but he's such a dynamic, charismatic person. He definitely has a pathological personality, but his pathological personality was used for creative ends, to make an iMac, to make an iPhone, to do something. Now we call that human good or human advancement. He's doing it because it's just what he does, right? So you can have that sort of unhealthy or a healthy version of that pathological personality. We could say this guy's a sociopath. He's a psychopathic killer, right? Well, he's using his sociopathy and his pathology for destructive ends. Could he be using that for creative ends? And this kind of goes back to what I talk about in my fourth book. Once again, is like, it's my personal opinion that the thing that defines the human condition right now is discontent. It's not contentment. You will never find contentment in this life. You will only be dealing with varying levels of discontent. Now, that's a good thing. That is a feature and not a bug of human nature, okay? Because that discontent can be dealt with destructively or creatively. So if you've got a guy who's like obsessed about something, or he's talk about good or evil, the good or the evil comes from, did you deal with your discontent creatively or destructively? So did you actually try to go and eliminate somebody by killing them or putting a hit out on them or whatever? That discontent is being used antisocially and is being used to actually cause human harm, right? Absolutely. So you could say that that you judgment call. You could say that's evil, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is using your discontent for destructive ends. You can also use that discontent to say, you know what? I hate where I'm at right now. I don't like who I am, and I want to be the best goddamn artist in the world. I want to climb that mountain, and you know what? When I get to the top of that mountain, I'm going to look for the next damn one that's higher than that, right? Because I'll be satisfied with that once I get there. But there's always Mount Fuji or now Everest or whatever. I want to go to the next highest level. So you can use that discontent in a creative fashion, or you can use it in a destructive fashion. But you will always be discontent. And that's, I think, too many people are sold on this idea that we can be happy in the long term. That's why we have SSRI, antidepressants. That's why we're always trying to find this permanent fix to always be happy, to always have this contentment that is never going to exist for us because we're not built to be content in the first place. So when people say, well, you know, women aren't happy as they used to be in the past, of course they're not. Of course they're on record levels of SSRIs and antidepressants because we still believe that happiness is a destination rather than happiness is in the doing, is in going from one point to point A to point B. And we're doing it creatively rather than destructively.
Facts. Man, listen, that was good, right? Now listen, all right, let's talk about this, right? So during the Ethan and Pearl debate,
here we go. All right.
Yeah, right? If you feel me? Right?
Shift gears.
Yeah, right? Pearl quoted like one of like your studies where, yes, like you was talking about it, right? And she said that, you know, that violent felons have more kids than non-violent felons, right?
That was my study, actually. That's Rollo Tomassi who brought that up, but
yeah, right? And Ethan asked her to quote her source, and she said, Rollo. Right?
And of course, I'm quoting Steve Stewart Williams. I'm quoting Rob Henderson. I'm quoting God Sod. I'm quoting Ralph Dengen. I'm quoting Dr. David Buss, right? I'm quoting those people, but like, what was Rollo? He was the one who told me this.
Right?
Clean up my mess. I shit the bed. Come on, clean it up. Yes. Yeah.
No, right. and then Destiny accused you of texting Pearl talking points like mid-debate.
I don't say jack shit to Pearl anymore. No, especially after that bullshit she pulled with Nick Fuentes, man. No.
Oh, okay. Speak on that.
I do not talk to Pearl anymore. I've completely cut her off. She is
why?
Because she's a shit person, man. She's just a bad actor, man. And I you know, the whole thing that went down with Nick Fuentes on the first pass, right? I didn't care. Like people go, "Oh, what do you got against Nick Fuentes?" I don't have anything against Nick Fuentes. What I have is against Pearl because it's like she's talking to Nick Fuentes like she doesn't know who the fuck he is. I'm like, he was just on Tim Pool. It was the most watched, you know, live stream that Tim Pool has ever had. He had Kanye West, Nick Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos are on, and probably Sneako in the back somewhere, right? All of them on there, and they walked off the show because Ye started talking about, you know, the Austrian painter and the Germans of 1938, right? And so he walks off. It's like the most watched like show that Tim Pool has ever done, and you don't know who Nick Fuentes? Get the fuck out of here!
Oh no, well, right? And then like a month prior, right? So look, Adam asked her, "Would you date like you know Nick Fuentes?" And she said, "Yeah."
Yeah, see, she knows damn well who he is, but like, my problem wasn't had nothing to do. And everybody thinks now I have a problem with Nick Fuentes, but it wasn't that. It was the fact that she was trying to say, "Well, I didn't know who he was." Like that's how she operates. I didn't know. No, you did fucking know, and you got caught with your fucking pants down. That's why. So I was trying to be cool with her. I had people saying, "Hey, man, maybe like it was actually for Mike Sartain because Mike Sartain wanted to do some interviews with her and stuff." I'm like, "All right, that's cool. I'll reach out to her, talk to her." I started like mending fences with her, and I'm trying to do that recently. Like I've been talking to Mike Rashid recently, and I like Mike quite a bit. But so I'm kind of like trying to put out olive branches and say, "Hey, like maybe got off to a bad start," kind of thing. I was actually trying to help her during the whole time when she was getting accused of being a racist. And like you had was it MTR? Mediocre tutorial reviews guy was coming at her really hard, and like all these people were giving a real hard time. And I was trying to say, hey, look, you're gonna have to weather this. You know, so I'm trying to be cool with her. And so we had something going. I was talking to her somewhat regularly for about 6 weeks, and then the tweet came out that I put out, which was the vasectomy tweet, right? And then she was like, "Oh, do you want to talk about it? We'll have you on the show. I want to interview you." I'm like, all right, you know, I'm like thinking, okay, now maybe it's okay. I'll go do it. And I even was saying like, hey, look, I'm cool with her on my own podcast and everything. And I get on there, and like for the first 20 minutes, she's asking me about it. I'm trying to explain, you know, what my thought process was.
Virtually or in person?
No, it was on like StreamYard. It was like Zoom. No, it was a Zoom call.
Zoom. Okay.
It was a Zoom call. And so I'm on there, and I'm talking to her, and she seemed like she was like, you know, all about it. And then she's like, well, like 5 minutes before we were supposed to go, she goes, I'm going to take some phone calls, you know, during the thing. I'm like, all right, fine. Sure, okay. It wasn't phone calls. It was Isabella Moody. It was Nick Fuentes. It was Bryson, and then there was another dude that was on there.
She ambushed you.
And Glenn actually came. I invited Glenn.
Oh, she ambushed you then.
Yeah, basically ambushed me. And Nick Fuentes is on there, and I'm like, really? And again, they're all just waiting in the wings, and she brings them in, you know, like at a certain time, and I'm like, so that's where this is at. And I just said, fuck this, and I bailed out. I didn't have anything to do with her anymore after that. And I'm just like, this.
She tried to go viral.
Well, yeah, because she wanted to. She wanted to jump on the fact that the tweet that I had was getting I got a response from Matt Walsh. I got a response from Ben Shapiro. I got a Lauren Chen. I'm trying to think who else was responding to it. So I was getting, Ruslan. I had like that tweet went to like 7.1 million views on that. And so of course she wanted to jump on that. I was happy to give it to her at the time, but now I realize that she just wanted to bring Nick. Even after we had all this conversation about Nick Fuentes, I'm like, okay, that's fucked up. Yeah, that is fucked up. And so of course what I said this. I said, look, I started talking about like, you know, the elves. Yes, I started talking about the Germans of 1938. Anything that I knew that YouTube was going to have a problem with. Trust, if you're going to, I've made this statement before. If you're going to ambush me on you're going to ambush me on your show. I'm going to talk about I'm going to bring up every word you're not supposed to say on YouTube on your show. And I would suggest anybody who else gets ambushed, bring up Transformers, bring up everything that will get you a hard strike. Just bring it up. Just start talking out of your ass.
That's so amazing, bro.
Yeah. That's your only line of defense. Yeah, and she removed it as a result. And I'm just like, I'm like, that's what a shit. You want to talk about grifters? Yeah. You want to talk about people who don't.
Oh yeah, she a grifter for sure.
Yeah, you want to talk about people who are disingenuous, dishonest brokers? That to me, that's it right there. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm out. So to say that, to accuse me of like texting her during Ethan Klein, I'm like, dude, you clearly have not been paying attention for the last like month and a half here.
Man, listen, all right, because so one, bro, like a Rollo and Nick Fuentes like debate is worth much more than just the Zoom time. You feel me? Like, right?
Yeah.
Like y'all two coming together to like has to be like an actual like event for the culture.
Nick Fuentes is auditioning for the role of Richard Spencer for the next upcoming election cycle. That's what he's doing.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to remember, like, during the 2016 campaign, during the last one, during the 2021, there's always a cast of characters. Like, they're always the same characters are there, but the actors change, right? So, like, I remember when Mike Cernovich was a big deal back in 2016. Like, where is he now? He's not really doing much of anything. But that sort of that guy who is the on the street, you know, on the ground kind of, you know, citizen reporter. That's a role that somebody's going to fill at some point. The Richard Spencer role is Richard Spencer's gone, right? But but now you've got Nick Fuentes who wants to be in that role as well. So and by the way, if you go back and you look at like who was popular on social media during the election cycle of the 2016 and then 2020, you'll see a cast of characters and you'll see those same characters. They'll be played by different people, but they'll all be. Those characters will still be there because that's what informs the narrative that gets you from, you know, January of next year to the second Tuesday in November, or the first Tuesday in November of the same year.
Man, right. So, like, why do you feel like those cast of characters? They almost certainly, like, for example, like Milo says he's no longer gay. He's now, you know, like a trad.
Maybe he had genetic manipulation.
Right?
I love Milo too, but it's like,
yo, listen. Yeah. Milo in 2016, 2017 was goated. Like, I'm talking, listen.
Oh yeah, he was doing interviews with, or he was doing shows with like Ann Coulter. And
yo, he was the most skilled pundit, right? Like he would just destroy people. Now it's the coke probably. He's just, he's just crazy now, right? Now, Richard Spencer has come out and said, he's sorry, he apologizes, he wish he'd never done it. So, one, why do you think they always pivot now to a less
tone it down?
Yeah, right?
Turn it down 2 notches.
Yeah, right? And two, are those people redeemable after they tone it down and say they apologize?
It depends on what you would consider redeemed. I'm gonna actually quote my friend Mike Sartain. Nobody cares. No one cares. What's funny is he always brings this up. I'm gonna butcher this. Sorry, Mike, but if you go to Las Vegas and you go to this club called Jing right now, you will see O.J. Simpson in that club.
Wow.
And you know who he's hanging out with? 20-year-old blondes who look just like Nicole Brown Simpson.
Oh, wow.
You know what? No one cares.
Yeah.
In fact, if they go and take pictures on our Instagram, hey, look, it's OJ, it's the juice. They're having a good time. It's like, you realize you look a lot like a chick that's dead, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know because they're young and they don't know the history or anything like that. You got Donald Trump grabbing by the pussy, right? He banged Stormy Daniels. He's still the president. Nobody cares. No one fucking cares. Give it enough time. In fact, I even told Pearl this. I said, just let the whole racism thing. Just give it 2 weeks, man. Hell, it probably doesn't even. I was surprised that my tweet actually had a shelf life of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, no, that's the problem right now. People keep saying the internet never forgets. Yeah, they don't, but people have very short attention spans online.
Absolutely.
So once that crisis has been gone, the sub that imploded down by the Titanic, you know what? By October,
Friday.
What? Yeah, by Friday, right?
We'll be done.
Yeah, nobody fucking cares because it'll be replaced by the next new thing, right?
Yeah.
And so when you say, well, are they redeemable? Yeah, they are, because nobody cares. Nobody even gives 2 shits. They don't care if you're That's one of the things when people say what was it? Well, you were wanting to talk about Steven Crowder and all that stuff.
Yeah. We forgot about him.
When they say don't apologize, especially to the woke mob, never apologize. Well, there's 2 reasons for not doing that. One is it only makes matters worse if you do.
Absolutely.
And then second of all, nobody cares. They don't care that you apologize.
Yeah, we forgot about Steven Crowder, right? Yeah. He was again, bro, man, I would never judge anybody's marriage on a 45-second clip video.
Yeah.
To me, that's just retarded. As fuck, right? Trying to say this man is an abuser based on that clip is stupid, right? But he was the worst person ever, and it was he
made him look like the devil.
Yeah,
he definitely looked like he was imbalanced.
Yeah,
in that
a month later. Nobody gives a fuck.
You got to remember. Okay, so the whole thing about Crowder is that video was shot 2 years ago.
Wow.
So it's been saved and it's been on a hard drive somewhere for 2 years. Let that sink in.
Was plotting.
Let's let that sink in. People say, well, it looked like it was edited and it could have been. Now people are saying, and I have a blink system at my own house, so I know how it will stop if there's no motion, there's no sound or whatever. I get that, but even if that's the case, even if it wasn't edited, they still had it on a hard drive for 2 fucking years. So,
that's insane, man.
So somebody was saving that up, man. That was just okay, I got my ace in the hole. It's this video right here. It makes him look like...
Is it the wife that did it, though?
I don't know, but I will tell you that the wife and Candace Owens were besties for a long time. So when Candace started coming out talking about we prayed for Steven Crowder, and then Steven said something about he was being blackmailed or something by Candace Owens, and she's like, how dare you? I'm not doing anything like that. And then of course she's the first person who breaks the video story, right? Oh, so you were blackmailed? Okay. Right? Nobody cares. No one cares.
Yo, listen though, I feel like Candace is so hot that all her you feel right that all her transgressions kind of get looked
blended
over.
Together.
Yeah, right. You feel me? Right? We don't care no more, man. Wait though, right? So look, so now that tweet, right? Now people are saying again, God bless Sneako heart, man, right? I feel like he's young, he means something. Well, no, I'm 25, so he's about my age as well, right? Close. But people feel like Sneako used you and your tweet as a means now to pivot to something else. Because, for example, right? So how do you feel about that?
Okay, so he's not the only one. Okay, a lot of people did that. Okay, so you could argue that the Tates did the same thing. You could argue that you could say, well, is this what those red pills guys are really about? Like even like Ben Shapiro said something very similar. Oh, so this is what these guys are really all about, right? This is their life lessons. Remember what I said? Like everything on Twitter is like self-help. Yeah. Like so especially if you produce a list, everybody thinks you're telling me this is my how-to list to live a better life. Oh my God, like they lose their shit, right? Well, especially the part about the vasectomy part of it. Everybody fixates on that. So now I'm a vasectomologist for some reason. In fact, I'm introducing myself as the premier vasectomologist of the red pill now. Why not lean into it? Nobody cares. Yeah, in a way, because it gave people the easy out. And I'm actually, I didn't do this on purpose, but now I kind of understand why people jumped on it. Because it gives people a reason to say, well, this is why I was red pill until that tweet came out. Now I don't want anything to do with it. Now, like that's all it took, right? They just wanted a reason to exit. It's the same thing that happened like with to a lesser degree in August of 2021 when Abba and Preach came at Myron and Fresh. All the people who were on board with Myron and Fresh and they wanted to be part of the show, the people who got cold feet, they were like, we never fuck those guys. Is that what they're really about? Oh, is he Epsteining these girls or is he Weinsteining these girls? Right. And so now they wanted to get out. And now they had a reason to get out. Absolutely. And so really the tweet, I mean, again, nobody even remembers it probably. By the time this airs, no one will remember it. But the fact is that, it was an easy way out. And like he shows up with and I like Sneako too, don't get me wrong. I like him a whole lot better than Destiny.
And he'll be here actually in like an hour, I think.
I like Sneako a lot, okay? And I think he has potential, but like when he plays to sort of the Islamic audience, and then goes and does his shows with Myron and Zerka and everybody else, and it's like, hey man, it's bitches and hoes and stuff like that. And then when it's convenient, we move on to the Quran. Well, we're going to show up in whatever the outfit is, at the mosque. And I quite honestly, if I was Muslim, because I wrote the religion book, and it took me 3 years to do that, and I got a lot of friends in them. I have a Quran that was like hand given to me, like an old Quran, right? That was given to me. It was a personal gift, because I had to have that to do my research for that book. It was the most researched book I ever did, and so when I see shit like that, I'm like, I'd be kind of offended. I would be really.
The Muslims are.
Yeah, you got to be, especially with Islam. Like Christianity is one thing, and I would probably be offended the same way. But when people who are like trying to, it's like taking the Lord's name in vain, right? It's not about saying God damn it. It's about presuming to speak and say, here's what I'm saying, and this is what the Lord is saying too, right? It's the same. I get the same kind of vibe when people are like, now I'm about this. Now I'm about this religion. Now I'm about this ideology, even though I was never about that before. But then Rollo put this tweet out about vasectomies, and now they go, hey, I'm a devout Muslim.
Yeah. Listen, Russia. Look, so like we're like, I seen it and I kind of like cringe, right? Was when you watch like the Myron and Sneako clip like back for, right? And they were like, they weren't even talking about you or nothing else. And he kind of just like said, oh, now what about, like that Rollo tweet, which is kind of like, okay, that was like premeditated to come on and introduce this conversation.
Oh yeah, the whole purpose of doing it was for that, yeah.
And I'm like, why would you do that,
Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys. I need better haters.
Yeah.
I have a lot of guys who will literally go on. I'm not even going to name names, but people know who I'm talking about. But they'll go on shows that they know that I'm affiliated with, or like Saucecast, for example. Yeah. Like I helped Adam Sosnick, and he'll be the first one to tell you, if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. We'll go on those shows knowing that I'm affiliated with those people, and they'll just wait till the end and they'll go, so what do you got going on? You're like, final thoughts. What do you think of the show? So-and-so. Yeah, fuck Rollo. I mean, that's like the whole reason for them to be on the show is like, let me tell you what I'm doing. Yeah, fuck Rollo. look dead ass at the cat. Fuck.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and so it's like, dude, is that like, don't you have anything better to do? Like, I hate to say touch grass. Don't touch grass, but don't you have like other, like, remember what I was saying about like there's the ideas guys and then there's the reactors guys? why does that seem like you have a very finite amount of time on planet Earth? That like, does this seem like a really productive use to like to deal with your discontent creatively or not? So
of course, but and do you feel though like here right? Because listen, right? Because after that though, like Sneako's entire like public perception got switched, right? Now people like will say, "Oh my God, he's so logical now," and he even like went on his like Rumble stream and was like, "Oh, I think I'm a back out of the debate because right now I look really good. Like, why would I debate Rollo?"
Okay, so I'll tell you the story about that. I was going to be myself, Mike Sartain, Destiny, and Sneako.
Yeah.
And so I'm flying out there, and I'm on the Wi-Fi on the plane. And Myron says, "Oh, Sneako's not going to be on the thing anymore." And I'm like, "Really?" Because I was like, "Damn, why?" Because he was the one I wanted to talk to more than anything. And this was after I had already like been on their show. Like I did I called in. I did a on StreamYard or something like that, and did this thing. And people, "Oh, you couldn't tell us what a high value man was." Like, yeah, I'm doing that because I know in a week I'm going to be there, and I want to actually get you guys to the table, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I go out there and I do that, and I was kind of disappointed because he's like, "Oh no, Sneako doesn't want to do it now," and I was like, "Shit." So then I felt bad because it would be like me and Mike beating up on Destiny, right? I didn't want that to I thought it would look bad. And then later on, like literally like half an hour before we're supposed to do the show, then Myron says, "Oh, Sneako's back in." I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness," right? But he's only in for half an hour or 45 minutes. And I'm like, why is that? Well, he's going to go do a show with Aiden Ross after that. And I was like, "You're going to give up a show with me and Mike and Destiny to go do," and I'm not saying Aiden's, he's not chopped liver, but like, why would you do that? Apparently he had done a video saying, "Well, I don't want to debate Rollo. He's just like clout jacking me." I'm like, "Dude, do you know who I am?"
No. And
but I was like, you back out, stay in, whatever you're going to do. But like, I want to be able to talk to him. So in the very beginning of that debate, talk, whatever you want to call it,
he was quiet.
I knew he was going to be only there for like 30 or 40 minutes. So I focused everything I could on him because I wanted to talk to him specifically because I like Sneako, right? Yeah. And so if it seemed like I was like really intense with him, because I was trying to get everything within like 30 or 40 minutes. And we're playing to like 35,000 live views on that.
Oh,
do you really want to leave this stream and go with all right, man, vaya con Dios.
No, with the right, and like he was quiet though, like do the strategy because he said, "I already look really good right now in the eyes of the public for going against Rollo."
Who's public though? Like his following or my following or Fresh and Fit's following? Like,
well, for example, right? There was there was portions of the Red Pill who don't like Sneako because they felt as if he was like grifting, he didn't believe it, right? And then there's like the Album Preach crowd, right? So after he like went against you and he won over a significant amount of the Album Preach crowd, right? So now he felt like, yo, okay, right? Like folks now are off my bag. They think I'm logical now. Why would I go back to Rollo?
He probably and I get it. He probably if he made a tactical error, it was putting out that video explaining why he wasn't going to. Right? Like I mean, and this is just me from a business sense. It's like, why would you do that? Like if you're not going to show up, like at the very least, I was laughing too because I was like, they on a previous stream they had said something to the effect of like, "Oh, all these guys want to debate us. They suddenly get sick at the last minute." Kind of thing. I'm like, "Oh, did he get sick?" I was like using that, debate-itis or some shit like, "Oh, did he get debate-itis?" And I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I was glad he showed up. I was glad he did because he was the main person I wanted to talk to.
Yeah, man. Okay. So like,
you got to remember, like, there's like, I'll go on people, like, this is a really big show, okay? But I'll go and I'll do shows with, like, Logan, for example, and he's got, like, maybe 20,000 subs, if that.
Oh, wow, really?
Right? Or I'll go, if somebody's like a come-up, if I think I'm going to have a good conversation with that person, I'm still going to go do that show. I'm still going to go talk to that person if I think there's going to be some value. Or, like, if what is it, in martial arts, like, for instance, like, the black belt can always learn something from the white belt, right? Even if it's just something, oh, I would have never thought of that. You're just, like, something that's just was instinctual with the white belt that the black belt can go, "Oh, that's great. I learned something from a white belt." Like there's that encouragement. Not that it happens all the time, but like if I can have a good conversation with somebody who's sort of like a come up, I'm still going to have that conversation
Absolutely.
with that person
Absolutely.
because my motivation to have that conversation is not so much based on like how many followers I'm going to get or how am I going to win over or how many subs am I going to get as a result of this. My purpose it always has been this way because when I was on the So Suave forums back in the day, remember I told you how like I would take those conversations, turn them into blog posts, and then they became chapters in my book. That's what I'm talking about. The book would not exist if I hadn't had that attitude back in the day to talk to people that I'm just like, I don't get any financial gain out of you, but I do get some intellectual gain, and maybe we can come to a consensus on something that we can turn into a bigger deal. I'll go talk to those guys, whether you have a 10,000 podcast or you have a 4 million sub podcast. So if it's a good conversation, like we're having a good conversation right now. So absolutely. I get something out of this, and I think the audience does too.
Of course.
So I get this quite a bit. People say, well, why are you talking to these dumb bitches? Why are you talking to this guy? That's a waste of your time, Rollo. Why? You're not going to convince Destiny of anything. You're going to change his fucking mind about anything. Like, that's not my point. My point is not to change. I know. Fuck, you think I'm there to change this guy's mind? I know that's not going to happen. But in the process where I'm having that conversation, if the people who are watching this say, you know what, I never thought about that before. That's what I'm after. I want people to equip people with a new idea. And if it takes me trying to have, talking to somebody that's like really is, violently opposed to me, somebody gets something out of it, then I actually win. Then I actually made creatively discontent, right? I've actually maybe created a new follower, but also helped somebody in the process.
Now, let's speak about the debate-itis, right? Now, listen. I love Donovan Sharp just like everybody else, right? But speak about Donovan Sharp, man. Now, he's had a rough last, like the album Preach like hit piece was when? January, right?
January.
Where things came out where like, I think his wife or his girlfriend was actually a single mother. She was actually older.
It didn't actually come out in January, but
right? And then there was a bunch of things that surfaced where like that goes against like things that he's preaching, right? So when you see
what you use the term preaching.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No. I was gonna say, again, that's because, and I mean, people do this. I'm not hitting on you. People do that. They say you're a hypocrite because you preach. I don't preach a fucking thing. I tell you, I give you. I just work here. I give you the information. I'm not telling you the Lord saith to do this. I'm not giving you the 12 rules for life. I'm not giving you a program. I'm just giving you information. What you choose to do with that is on you. That's the difference between like saying, oh, you're preaching this, or the preaching side of things ends up being the self-help. You're trying to tell me how to live. Well, that's what preaching is, right? It's like, here's some ways to think about like changing your life kind of thing. When I hear people say, like, it doesn't have to be say preaching, you're teaching this, or you're promoting this, your philosophy is thus. It's like my philosophy, you tell me what you think my philosophy is, right?
Yours?
That's what I'll start. Okay. You don't have to, but I'm just saying, like, people say that. I'll say, what do you think I'm about? And let me correct your because you're ignorant of the fact that I'm not really about what you think I'm about. But because you can't tell people information without telling them how to feel about that information. That's when you get, well, you're telling me I should feel this way because if you didn't give me this information in the first place, you wouldn't want me to like sway my mind or change my mind about something. People throw that and they use terms like preaching or whatever it is, hypocrisy, because they think that by you even being an influencer or being and talking out there means that you are trying to tell somebody how to live. I'm not trying to tell you how to live. I'm giving you tools and giving you information, and you get to decide how you want to live with that information. So, but as far as Donovan Sharp is concerned, so the reason why I said that the stuff that came out in January, it didn't come out in January. It came out in 2020. 2019, something like that. It's been around for a long time.
God damn.
It was released by a gentleman by the name of Anthony Johnson, who I have, who.
Oh, he's the white guy.
Yes. Okay. But it again, the reason why it came out, the reason why you see this sort of like exposed. And, he's a hypocrite. Don't listen to him. Don't. The reason why you get these hit pieces is because what you would never hear Abba and Preach say is the reason for that. The reason why this is old news. Like when I came at Abba and Preach for talking shit about Donovan, it wasn't because I was defending Donovan. I'm saying you guys, you've got old data. You're listening to the wrong person, because the shit that you think is recent happened back in 2020. And the reason why is because Donovan Sharp runs a convention called the CME, which is the Convention of Masculine Excellence, right? Which is in direct competition with Anthony Johnson's 21 convention, and there is a lot of bad blood, and there's been a lot of if hell, even Anthony Johnson's attacked Fresh and Fit's channel for having me and Donovan on, and Aaron Clary was on, I think, on that month as well.
What's his beef with you though? Like,
his beef with me is the fact that I basically saved his convention from like bankruptcy by actually believing his bullshit. Oh, really? And I was one of his keynote speakers for 2017 and 2018. Yeah. We were also, myself and Rich Cooper were involved in the Red Man Group, which was sort of the precursor of Rule Zero, which I think is a much better show, quite honestly. But then, the guys, you want to talk about pathological personalities. This guy has basically run off anyone who's ever worked with him, in the past. Abba and Preach are reactors. They'll look for whatever outrage bait that they can find. Because look, seriously, go look at the thumbnails of everything that they do. You can go look at people's thumbnails and say, is this guy an ideas guy, or is this guy a reactor? Is this a guy who's just waiting for the next crisis to happen so that they can do a reaction video? Yeah. Or are they actually doing something? Do they have a product? Do they have an idea? Do they have a book? Do they have anything that is novel and new? 98% of the time, no, they don't, because they're waiting for people to talk shit about someone else so they can go do a reaction video. That is Abba and Preach. That is MTR. That is anybody who's an outrage broker, right? And so it was just the new hotness, and I just called them out on the bullshit, because the stuff that they were talking about, Anthony Johnson had been talking about Donovan Sharp since back 2 years ago, because he wanted to expose Donovan so it would hurt his convention, because he was in direct competition with him.
Now, well, I do want to get to you and MTR, because I had no idea. You feel me? That there was some type of beef there.
I've never said two words to MTR, so I only see what I see. Right?
Yeah. Damn, we've been here for what, 3 hours? 2 hours. God damn. Yo, who knows?
Dude, I do 4-hour and 5-hour podcasts regularly I only do one. It's on Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Here, right? But right now, right? Look at this, right? Cool. But so what's your issue with MTR? Why don't he like you?
I don't know. I don't know. Does he not like me? I don't know. I'm not I look at what MTR does and what he's talked about in the past with Fresh and Fit. I know he's come at Pearl, which please keep going at her now. I had a problem, now I don't have a problem anymore. Please do. It's all it's on you, bro. Go get him. But no, I don't have a problem with him. I just think that his profit model is based on outrage brokership, and it's all reaction stuff. He doesn't offer anything new. He just talks shit about other people who are actually out there doing something. Right? And he's not alone. I don't want to just hit on him. There's other guys that do the same thing. But as far as MTR, and there's was it Hamza? And there's some other guys, and remember we were talking about guys who want to leave the manosphere. Yeah. It's an ongoing joke on Rule Zero right now. We'll go and we'll look at the people who will say, I'm leaving, was it Coach Red Pill, Corey Wayne, Hamza, I guess, John Sonmez, MTR as well. We're leaving the manosphere. We're done with the manosphere. And then you go and they'll do this a year ago, and you look at every video they've done since they said, we're out of the manosphere, we're done with the Red Pill now. Everything that they do, all their reaction videos are Red Pill reaction videos. Every last one. You never left. You're just simply talking shit about the same guys that you wanted to be a part of. Yeah. But now you've left the manosphere. No, you haven't left the manosphere. You're still doing the same material.
Yeah. Now,
if you left the manosphere, you would be talking about fishing. You'd start a fishing channel, or you'd start a sports channel, or you'd start something that's completely off topic. If you quit the manosphere, get the fuck out. There's the door. Leave, please. There's too many of you.
Audience don't give too much
go.
Leave, man.
There it is. Please leave and stop talking shit about people in the Red Pill and the manosphere. If you're done with the manosphere officially, then get the fuck out.
Just leave, man. Now, I think, and you said that somebody paid Abba and Preach to make the Donovan Sharp video.
I proposed the idea, and did I have proof of this? But because I've seen this happen before. Anthony Johnson has paid people in the past to do paid material, hit pieces, in particular about me, Rich Cooper.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else he's done hit pieces on. Sterling Cooper. I'm trying to think who else. But essentially, what he does is he uses what cat's paws. He uses people like as proxies to come out. Like MGTOW Dictionary was another one. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are sort of, I don't say they're on the payroll, but they're definitely incentivized. Or one thing that they did not deny was the fact that the information that they got, we didn't know who Anthony Johnson is, but they got the information from either from him or third hand that came from him and didn't know that they got it from him. So they're talking out their ass and reacting to something that happened, that exposure happened like 2 or 3 years ago. Did you know he was a convicted criminal? Yeah. So was Angela Knight, but nobody says shit about that. Nobody cares about that shit. Again, no one cares.
Wait.
If you hadn't brought this up right now, Angela, was she busted for shoplifting?
Angela Knight?
Yes, shoplifting. I didn't even.
Yeah, I'm stunned.
And by the way, I didn't dig that up. I had other people like, "Hey, did you see this?" I was like,
she don't strike me as the petty theft.
She's a criminal. She's a hardened criminal.
Okay, hard times. Okay,
she was 19.
But you were hot though. You could sell some pussy to get some food, right?
Maybe back then. Maybe then she was. She's probably like 20 pounds lighter then.
Speaking of proof though, like you broke the internet like last night.
I did.
When you wrote
last night.
Yeah. When you wrote
what I do now.
Yeah. I think you wrote to Destiny. You have medical records and proof that can show. I think it was Lauren Southern you were talking about.
Now, okay,
that he and her was involved in a sexual relationship, and then there was an abortion involved.
So that's again. I have been in touch with, and he probably wouldn't care if I said this right now, but I've been in touch with Lauren Southern's ex since December of last year.
Wow.
And I know there's a lot of people who say, well, why would he call you? Well, because I'm in the sphere, and he actually called me, or didn't call me. He reached out to me email-wise, because he is in Australia and she is in Canada, and he wanted to know if I knew any attorneys who specialized in child custody cases that was international. Right? Wow. And the only person I could think of was Andrew Esquire from Legal Mindset. He was, I don't know if that ever amounted to anything, if he ever reached out to it, but apparently he had been in a legal custody battle, really nasty one, because she has been essentially like denying him access to his kid, like won't even let him talk to him. And I thought it was some pretty fucked up shit.
Very fucked up.
And so I think a lot of people see me as sort of like an MRA or an advocate for like men's rights or something. I don't know why. I mean, maybe. But so I talked to the guy and I started talking to him, and he was giving me some information. He told me about her past. I can actually name some names, but I don't want to get too deep in there. But essentially, he has protection orders, or she had protection orders against him. I have protection. I have the copies of those, so I know it's the dude. I know it's the guy. So I have confirmation that I know that the guy that I'm talking to is actually her ex, and so I've got quite a bit of information. She's dating Tim Pool right now.
Really?
She has a habit of going after guys who are like sort of internet famous dudes, right?
Absolutely.
And so Destiny was one of them. And you can go and have a look at the videos that they've done together in the past, as of last year. And I had to be really careful with this, but I've had other people in the wake, because I did a show about Lauren Southern, because she had done this sort of come to Jesus video about how she was getting divorced. And the reason why I think she did that is because I think she was on Tim Pool and she had her wedding ring on. And that was one thing that was really bugging her ex, because she tries to present this, I'm a good Christian traditional conservative as her brand. And I made one just throwaway tweet one time, and I put the picture on there. It says, why is Lauren Southern still wearing her wedding ring? And people thought that I was just, you must be professionally jealous. Fuck you, Rollo. Fuck you, right? No, now I'm fucking right. That's the thing, is now she goes and says, well, yeah, I've been divorced for X amount of times. But she's been wearing that ring and presenting herself as a good, traditional conservative for that amount of time, right? So I guess I was right about that. And again, it's not because I have some sort of precognition or anything like that. I just happened to be talking to her ex, right?
Yeah.
And then I've had some other people come after I did that show. I had about 3 other guys came out and were telling me like here's what was going on. Like, do you know Chud Logic? Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay, so Chud Logic was doing he'd done some recent video about how there was a relationship that almost broke up Destiny and Melina, and it had to do. And he just said point blank, he said it was Lauren Southern. Right? And then I when that came out, I went and I asked her ex, I said, is this true? He goes, yeah, it is. And there was a child that was produced as a result of that. So again, do I know this first? Do I have like the birth, do I have the pinks, the pregnancy test? No, I don't. But according to the guy that I have been talking to, her ex, there was a sexual relationship there and it resulted in a child. Now, I kind of had to sort of take that at face value for a while until I had another guy come up to me and I can't name names and I don't want to get you in trouble either because this counts as like medical records and doxing and everything else, but I'm not going to say. But I have copies of her. Ultrasound tests from right around the month that they were talking about, August of last year, and it is definitely her. I have the information confirmed for that, so I know that there was a child that was produced, or she was getting an OBGYN, ultrasound at that time. I have the proof for that. I'm not going to release it because for the privacy of the kid and for the people that are involved. Now, do I know that it was Destiny's? I don't know that, but I do know that there was a child involved, or there was a child at some point in August of last year.
So, and the child got aborted, or she kept?
I don't know.
Ooh,
I don't know. I know that there's no child. She could have lost the child as well.
Yeah.
I didn't say there's an abortion. I'm just saying that she was.
Of course.
And according to my sources, anyways, she was going to have a girl, so it would have been far along enough for them to determine sex.
Yeah, yeah, right. Because Destiny said he has a 5-to-1 a 5-to-1 bet for you, meaning if you can prove that he was involved with Lauren Southern,
I can't prove that the kid was his, but I can prove at least the timeline from what I've been told from her ex and from other people, not just him, but like other people who have like come and hit me up after I did that show.
Yeah.
Chud Logic being the one who like said that there was a relationship between the two of them that almost broke up him and Melina. Which is weird to me because like they have an open relationship, so that's why I was trying to confirm that.
Well, yeah. Listen, like Chud Logic has all the gossip for that community, man.
Right. I don't even know what the community is. I wouldn't even known who he was had I had not other people like link me to that one video.
Listen, he has in all the gossip.
And by the way, the only reason I even brought that up was because he was just on whatever podcast debating Lila Rose and some other fat bitch about like abortion, right?
That's
so
facts.
I'm like, well, you can win the abortion debate without having to resort to emotional appeals. Right?
Yeah, man, definitely, man. Hey,
do I know it was his kid? No, but I do know that at some point she did go and get a ultrasound at that time.
Well, hey, wait though, right? So even like for example, take out Destiny from this. Even like Lauren herself, like having out of wedlock baby. That's detrimental, like to her, because she's trying to be this,
I haven't heard anything from that side. I haven't heard anything from that side of the fence yet. Yeah. So,
hey man, listen, man. The Godfather always come with receipts, his facts, man.
I got him in my back pocket right now. I thought maybe Destiny would show up and like, here they are.
Well, and he was here at 11 a.m. Now, hey, I think Sneako was here too, so y'all can probably meet up, man.
I like Sneako.
Yeah, man. Man, but folks, before listening, this was a great interview, man. Hopefully, we have you back real soon.
Sure. It's a real short flight from Reno.
Listen, I'm trying to do this at least like once a month, maybe once every month and a half. You feel me, man?
Sure.
Right, man. Hey, man. People, though, man. Listen. Oh, sorry. Like one last thing.
Pick up my book. Get this book.
Fan, listen.
Buy this book.
The Rational Mill, the Player's Handbook. This is like
that's number 5.
That's the
right?
Fifth
one. Yeah.
Okay, so what's in this book?
It's the last one in the series.
You sure it's the last one, Rollo?
Yes, it is the last one.
You sure?
I'm not. People say Rollo's not writing anymore. No, I'm writing. This is just the last of the series. Okay.
All right. So what's this book?
So
teach me.
In the Rational Mail, the first book is like sort of like the core, right? That's the core concepts, right? Everything. People ask me like, which one should I read them in order? How do I read them? I'm like, well, it kind of depends on your interests. So I wrote this book because I had so many people saying, Rollo, what's the best book to learn game? And I don't want to write a book that's like, here's how. It's not a how-to book. It's not like, oh, here, I'm going to read this and then I'll be a master pickup artist. That's not what it's about. It's about why people in the pickup community, why people in the red pill like say that, like when I just told you, like women will break rules for alphas and they make rules for betas. I talk about that in this book. Why do we say that? It's a why it works or why we come to those conclusions book rather than like here's a how-to book, okay? Because I'm not going to write a how-to. I don't give prescriptions.
Facts.
But I will tell you like why does a neg hit work? That seems ridiculous. Well, here's why people come to the conclusion that a backhanded compliment might actually be a benefit, or direct game versus indirect game. Why is there a conflict between those two? I go into that here as well. So it's not a how-to book, it's a why it works book.
Yeah, man.
It's like a textbook. Think of it as a textbook.
Hey man, listen, 500 pages. You gonna get listen.
You just went and looked at the last
right? Yeah,
how many pages? This is a big fucking heavy book.
Now listen though, 500 pages means that you get your money worth, right?
Yeah,
man. But wait, so
either that or you're really long-winded.
Yeah, where can they find it though?
On Amazon. All my books are on Amazon. Just type in The Rational Male, and you'll find all 5 of them there. Yeah, and then I've got some other irons in the fire right now too. I'm also the co-host of Access Vegas, as you guys know. We do that every other Thursday. And this Thursday on the 29th, we'll be doing the next.
Adam on, man.
You mean Mike? You want me to get Mike?
Yes, please.
Oh, yeah, you guys want to come out to Vegas? You're more than invited.
Yeah,
sure.
right. Listen,
we always have one male guest, or we try to have one male guest.
Right, man. Folks don't wait, right? But yeah, man, invite. Listen, please bring on Adam and NJ Waller, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then we'll bring Mike Sartain in here next time. But
please,
the 2 of us would be good.
Yes, man. Yes. Wait. So next month, they know it now. You and Mike Sartain will be on his couch next month.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, hit me up. Get on.
Folks, No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world, man. We're out of here, folks.
Thank you.
Peace out, man.